Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show is recorded on July the 25th, 2017. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the man who pops out of the cake.
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we've played. We're going to have our monthly game club, which is Portal 1 and 2. We're going to be discussing our next game club game. We'll have our weekly community corner and our Steam weekly discovery queues. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
So, a little bit of context. When I typed in the date for today, I realized, oh yeah, it's my mom's birthday today. So, you're the man popping out of my mom's birthday cake.
I guess you don't love your mother then.
Also, the way I said that implies that I didn't realize it was my mom's birthday. I already called her and wished her a happy birthday today. But, I saw the date and it, hit me again, oh yeah, today was mom's birthday. So I immediately changed track on what I was going to say and made you birthday cake man.
Your poor, poor mother.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one this time. I met a nice lady today, though, who I think would like being my mom's friend because she plays World of Warcraft. She brought her son in for therapy, and he's not my client, but for some reason she just decided to start talking to me while I was doing something in the office, and I don't know how, but we got onto video games, and she's like, yeah, I play World of Warcraft, and I was like, so does my mom.
Yeah, then you get them together, and you find out she's Alliance while your mom's Horde, and they start fighting.
It would have to be the other way around. My mom's Alliance. She doesn't like Horde because, quote, they're ugly. End quote.
Well, that's not untrue.
No, it's not untrue. But if you're not going to play... Well, I don't know. Everybody's entitled to their own reasons. That's probably not the worst reason I can think of for not playing the Horde. I've played both, but I tend to go Alliance just because all my friends played Alliance, so...
Well, on the server I played on, it was 70 or 80% Alliance. I mean, you go to Thunder Bluff and, there's no one there.
Yeah.
Hell, Ogre was essentially deserted. Whenever one of the big world events where you had to run through the enemy towns, it was a breeze on my server because, there was no one there. Granted, they do have that weird server collection thing now that may not be the case anymore, but It was... Well, also, whenever I would do that, I had the Orb of Illusion. So I was this little blood elf on this giant Kodo riding through Ogre for the summer event.
Nice.
Fit right in. Yeah. Well, I was a Draenei shaman, so I had to have the massive mounts. Otherwise, I just looked ridiculous. Not to say I didn't enjoy riding around on my Mechanostrider. But, it looked like I would have to have a second one and just strap them on like skates.
That would be pretty badass, actually, if that was a mount. I want that.
Two Mechanostriders. And
Blizzard,
for those who don't know, a Mechanostrider is the gnome cultural mount. It's this robotic ostrich.
Yeah. Blizzard employees, because I know you're absolutely listening to this small video game podcast, make that happen. Please.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea also, my shaman was about the size of the Mechanostrider.
Nice.
Yeah, my usual ground mount was the motorcycle.
Yeah, I was
because
boring.
that's getting in touch with nature.
I was
the power
boring.
of the elements.
I always stuck to horses. I don't know why. Horses and griffins, those were my two favorites.
Mine was the thing is I also collected mounts, and I always called the Argent Dawn pet, which it sounds really wrong. The boy pet. Boy, that sounds even worse. I called him my stable slave.
There you go. Wink.
Because, someone had to clean up after the menagerie of various creatures.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I had not the first tier raid, but the second tier raid raid proto drake that I used. pretty much exclusively. I mean, granted, I did like my nether drakes as well, but yeah, something that was actually making my character look decent, because it was very hard for this massive blue space goat to actually look good on a mount, because most of them were not designed for that big a race. Only thing about the same size was the Taurens on the Horde side.
Yeah.
But we are way off topic, so maybe we should just move right along.
I mean, we were talking about games, but sure, we can go talk about the games that we played this week. On the bright side, at least our opening sort of banter was game-centric.
Well, if you want, we could always get political.
Let's save that for later. Another day.
Yeah, we'll save that for post-show while we render and get stuff ready for you to do your magical editing. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, that looks good.
Yeah, where I run off to bed because I have to get up. I'm about to have to start getting up earlier on Wednesdays because that's the only time that I can get supervision without having to pay for it is on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m., which means that I have to leave the house an extra 30 minutes early. So I'll be getting up at like 6 in the morning or 6:30. It's terrible. I hate having to work real job hours, but it'll be fine. By the way, in case anyone is wondering, supervision, I mean, you have to have so many supervised hours before you can be fully licensed. Currently, I practice under a temporary license, which grants me all the rights and privileges of someone who's fully licensed, except I have to be supervised. So, I got a babysitter. And I don't know if she's good looking or not, because I've never seen her before. I'm going to meet her for the first time next week.
And she invites her boyfriend over while she's babysitting you and making out on the couch. And then she gets fired like the rest of your colleagues.
God, yes. There was another person who got fired this week.
I didn't know about this. I was making a joke.
No, we're up to 7 people fired now.
Yeah, I was joking about you just sitting there by yourself, sitting on your couch alone. It's like, so how does this make me feel?
I had a meeting with one of my supervisors today, or one of my bosses. We genuinely joke and call him work mom and work dad, because one of my bosses is the administrative side and the other one is the clinical side, and they fight like a married couple. But anyways, I was with work mom
and
this
the
morning.
sex makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, it does. Wink. But I was with work mom this morning, and we were talking about stuff. She's like, "Look, I just want you to know that I think you're doing good work here, and I really appreciate you, and you're not worried. You're not in danger of getting fired." And I was like, I appreciate your compliment and your support, but I'm not worried about being fired. I said, unless I did something illegal, honestly, right now, you couldn't fire me if you wanted to, because you need me. And she said, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And she said, that's why we're giving you this. And because they're giving me even more stuff now, because I'm doing technically the work of 4 people. So they're like, here, have more benefits and goodies and money. And I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please. I'll do that work for some extra stuff. Because I'll get to keep all of that stuff once more people get hired. Because they know that I'll burn out if they keep doing this to me long term. And I've told that to them multiple times. So, thankfully, I've got good bosses. So I'm not worried about...
Yes, your colleagues that kind of stink.
My colleagues suck, but my bosses are great. That's not true. The people that work in the office here in town are all really great. There's only been one person that got fired from our office. Most of the other offices have had more. At least in this area. So, yay! I guess. Anyways, we got so close to talking about games.
Yeah, close.
Let's go do that right now. Okay, Rach, what games have you played this week?
Well, I played Quantum Conundrum. Or finished it. And, let's see, in a word...
Alright.
For those who don't know, this game, was developed by Airtight Games with the now defunct game dev, But one of the minds behind it was Kim Swift, who just happens to be one of the designers behind the first half of our game club this week. And this is just a happy coincidence that, this kind of lined up. So, it's just a happy little accident. We just have to get the afro out and start painting trees, I guess.
Happy little accidents, yeah.
Well, if I didn't know that the same designer was behind these two games, I would have called you a fucking liar. Well, for one, Quantum Conundrum, for those who don't know, it's essentially a first-person puzzle platformer that really wants to be Portal, but just misses on just about everything. It has the same basic formula. You're stuck in a series of rooms. I mean, in this case, it's a mad scientist manor instead of, a test facility. But, same basic premise with a disembodied voice that's kind of funny. In this case, it's John Delancey, who you may know as Q, who I also start just calling Uncle Q because, it's Uncle Quadrangle, if I recall correctly. Uncle Q. Yeah. And it felt like they missed on the mark so many times. There's just so many. Well, my main problem is the genre. It is a first-person puzzle platformer, and first-person platforming in general is a very, very, very dicey thing to begin with. Add on to it the puzzle element in this game, where you have, for example, and you'll love this, flying couches.
Doing therapy in style.
Oh, trust me, I was about to need therapy after some of this, because, damn. The problem with a flying couch is, well, it's not an even platform. So if you land on the back of the couch, what do you think happens?
You fall off?
Yeah, you slide right the fuck off.
Oh, boy.
Or if you hit that and you're not using the slow time power, which I haven't even gone into the different powers. And this, it's just one of those things that, this game frustrated me so damn much because there were so many times I would land on a flying couch or a flying safe or a flying table or, whatever. The tables were actually pretty decent because, they're a fairly decent size. The saves were pretty small to land on. But I would hit the couch, hit the back of it, and either just slide right off the backside of it and, or land onto the cushions and then hit the armrest as, the momentum kicks in and I get flung off. Oh, and also, if you hit any walls, it just kills all your momentum. So there's several puzzles towards the end where you're having to ride a couch and use the different powers, which the game has 4 different powers. It has slow time. It has fluffy, which is the furry dimension.
Okay, you're piquing my interest.
And I'm actually kind of not joking about that because in the manor you have all these portraits around the place. And one of them is Professor Quadrangle. And as you change dimensions, it changes all the portraits in the manor, which is a nice little touch. Gives you an idea of what to expect from that dimension. And the fluffy dimension, which makes everything lighter, puts him in a giant unicorn outfit. And no, I'm not joking.
Nice. I'm in.
But let's see.
That's it. I'm in.
There's slow time. There's the fluffy. And then there's the inverse, the heavy dimension. Okay. And then there's the inverse gravity. Reverse gravity. Well, the combination of having to juggle all those, and granted, not every chamber, room, whatever, had you handle all 4. Matter of fact, it was a rarity to get all 4. Trying to balance everything while doing puzzle platforming, and some of the jumps were damn tight, or just having to ride some of the safes or riding some of the couches, made it just an exercise in frustration. On top of that, having it where the physics didn't feel quite as exact as they should be. And that sometimes I was having it where doing the same action over and over again would result in different things happening, which is a death sentence for a puzzle, for a physics-based puzzle game, and just leads to just pure frustration for a puzzle platformer. At one point, I was summoning this same safe over and over again and watching it do different flips as it spawned and ending up in different spots in this little area that you had to maneuver it out of. And it's just one of those things that it feels like they just didn't spend enough time on it, or they didn't spend enough time playtesting it.
Yeah, if you can't trust the physics and what things are going to do in a puzzle game, you might as well not even bother.
Yeah.
Because in order for those games to work, you either have to have rules that work and everyone trusts, or have agreed up front that things are going to be a little weird in this game. And even then, the rules still have to make sense. Like, there has to be an acceptable deviation. It can't just be whatever because it's messed up or something like that.
Yeah, and I was going to this expecting to be more Portal-like, where I was going to use the physics to solve puzzles instead of doing a lot of platforming. And that's what really got me about this game, was just the pure amount of platforming. So, especially since we played both Portal and Portal 2 for a game club this week. Yeah. Just seeing the contrast between how the two games are handled. This is broaching on game club content, so I won't talk too much about it just yet, but a lot of Portal's platforming sections are almost on rails, where if you hit a certain amount of momentum for a jump, you'll make the jump no matter what, because of how Portal works. But
speaking of momentum,
here
comes our weekly train segment. Choo choo, motherfucker.
Yeah, and the problem is that it's always different.
Let me just barrel on into this section of the podcast.
You love the train, don't you?
I do always enjoy the train. I heard it just faintly, and I went, ooh, here comes the train.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that if I'm talking, I can't hear the faint train whistle.
Yeah.
But speaking of breaking momentum.
Right.
Where was I? I was...
you said that they were kind of on rails, and if you get enough momentum, basically you're going to make it...
Yeah, well, a lot of Quantum Conundrum's platforming sections, you have actual platforming, as in you're making each individual jump. And if you fail, you could go back to the beginning of the entire section, of that entire room, I should say. And checkpoints are only really existent in some of the larger rooms. Not to say that they're rare, because it tends to be where they'll have a lot of larger rooms that you tackle in segments instead of how Portal handles it and does, at this large sprawling going throughout the entire room. You'll just go, okay, here's the first part of this section. Here's the second part. Now you have to solve the third. And they're usually fairly simple. Granted, there's some things that was, after going through it and looking at it and playing it, it's like, okay, how was I supposed to get this without just getting frustrated? There was one jump in particular where I just got stuck on my video series, and I eventually had to just go look up the solution. And the solution of it was make the jump, and then unfreeze time, have everything kind of shuffle around in the air, and then freeze time again and continue my jumping sequence. And I hadn't really had something like that happen to me yet. And
that's really frustrating.
There's a severe lack of training in the game, which I think also leads to the frustration. On top of that, I should have mentioned this with the physics, but there's a little bit of a momentum whenever you're moving. Just enough to throw you off, especially if you're hitting some of the smaller platforms, or sorry, safes. And it's just one of those things that it's all these little things that kind of just add up on top of, I wouldn't call this a bad game. I would call this about mediocre. If you could stomach it being a first-person puzzle platformer. And that's the real thing, is that they kind of hid that fact. And it's one of those things that I could definitely understand why. Because, yeah, first-person puzzle platformer isn't nearly as fun as saying, oh yeah, we're like Portal. On top of, the story was also a huge disappointment. Should I spoil the story?
You can. I'm probably never going to play this game.
Well, I'll give you the story in one word. Cliffhanger.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and since the studio is defunct, you are not going to see Quantum Conundrum 2, or most likely. I mean, there's always the possibility, but odds are very slim. And because there's a cliffhanger, it feels essentially pointless. But on top of that, it's one of those things that, okay, I did the entire game and you gave me that as an ending? Really? Essentially, I'll go ahead and spoil it. I don't... it'll maybe save some people some grief. I don't know. Okay, so you get to the end of the three wings of the house to power on the generators, and then a fourth wing opens up. Fine. Whatever. And the entire house starts shaking. And, and then Uncle Q says, maybe that was a bad idea. No shit. Well, you get to the end of the fourth wing, and he suddenly regains his memory about why he's in this little pocket dimension. It was an escape pod, and him turning on all the generators and doing his experiment caused a bad thing to happen. They never actually explained why, I don't think. And you essentially trade places with him, and you end up in the escape pod dimension, and he ends up in the ruins of the house now. And I guess the hook for Quantum Conundrum 2 was going to be you would play Uncle Q and trying to save your nephew. Yeah, that's not going to happen now.
That's not...
Yeah, that's not a good ending, is it?
A good ending. It's not a good cliffhanger. That's not a good regular ending. All right.
I mean, they did have kind of the quirky song, but the thing is, I was so annoyed. I was like, fucking, and I clicked out of it. It's a mediocre wannabe Portal. And the fact that it has a designer from Portal behind it is just astonishing to me. It's like they learned every wrong lesson from Portal, which is disappointing.
Yeah.
So, any questions?
Not really. I mean, I feel like you explained it pretty well. It doesn't sound that great to me.
I mean, if you really want to play it, I mean, it could be worth your time if you go into it with the proper mindset. But the thing is that there are some really neat segments, and some of the first-person platforming, when they handle it right, has some neat segments where you're going through time-stopped segments where you jump onto a couch and or a safe or whatever, and then you sail through this long sequence. I mean, that is kind of a neat sequence. But then you hit the ones where you have to do some... There's one sequence towards the end, and I know I'm probably railing a lot, especially on the last, probably about third of the game, but that's what's freshest in my mind, and where some of the issues really were showing. There's a sequence where you have small platforms that you have to jump onto. All right, already fun for a first-person game, right?
Absolutely, just the best.
And on top of that, you also have to swap, or basically toggle your inverse gravity power on and off. And now, thankfully or unthankfully, depending on on the puzzle, the powers do not affect you as a player. So, if you're swapping the direction of gravity, you're still going to fall essentially down. while things fly up towards you. But
Okay.
toggling the gravity makes it so that these platforms that are on a hinge, if they're down, they come up and lock into a horizontal place where you could jump onto them. So you see where we're going with this, huh?
Yes.
So the normal ones that drop down will raise up flush against the wall, and you can't jump onto them. So you're having to go through the sequence of, I would say, probably about 15 to 20 jumps, toggling on and off the reverse gravity power. And you miss one, you go back to the start. And some of them are jump, swap, jump, swap, swap, jump. And it's just, very, very, very frustrating. Oh, and also, at one point, I clipped through one of the platforms.
That's always great.
Yeah, I guess I swapped the power too late, and it didn't register as down, even though the bottle showed the platform in place. So I fell right through it. Yeah, Quantum Conundrum. Where did you go wrong? Well, other than the places I mentioned.
Probably a few others as well. All right, cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's one game I don't feel the desire to play. What's your other game?
Oh, my other game is a failed Sunday sampler just because it kept crashing with my recording software running, which I don't begrudge it because, hooking into a game can be iffy at times anyway. So, I'm not going to knock it for that. This is another first-person platformer, but this one was actually kind of decent. It was very rough around the edges, but I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than Quantum Conundrum. But it also, it is a puzzle game, kinda, but it's one of those things that maybe it's just I'm hanging out with you too much that it's a very rough game, but I could appreciate what it's doing. It's called Suicide Guy. Probably the worst name imaginable for a game these days.
Yeah, it's incredibly deceptive.
You are this fat slob who fell asleep watching TV. Oh, wait. You want to know the premise of the game?
You almost got that right. I'm a fat slob who falls asleep at his computer desk. Close. Good try, though.
Well, anyway, the idea of the game is that you fell asleep watching TV and you dropped your beer and you're trying to wake up in time to grab your beer. And to do that, you have to go through a sequence of dream states and essentially kill yourself in them to wake up. So technically, it is, you are committing suicide, but at the same time, the fact that they have to put a disclaimer that this game is not about depression or suicide shows that maybe, just maybe, they should have thought about their title a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, it is a pretty good title in terms of wow, that grabs your attention. And it creates a very strong expectation. But not for this game. And really, Suicide Title, probably not a title you should use. Or Suicide Guy, probably not a title you should use. Period, really. But it is pretty catchy.
Yeah, true. Okay, so this is probably about a 3 to 4 hour game, somewhere around in there. And yes, it is very, very, very rough. To the point where some of it almost feels early access-ish. And the different levels are based around different ideas or different themes. Like there's one that is definitely not Mario. No siree. Because these question mark blocks have an exclamation point on them as well. But then there's other ones that are, you have a level where you wake up in a lighthouse with a copy of Moby Dick and you have to annoy a whale to attack the lighthouse.
Okay.
So it's not quite video game related, but it still has that idea. And the reason why I say that some of the levels feel very rough, particularly ones that have large set pieces in them, like the Moby Dick level is that some of the things that you would expect to be animated aren't. Like, let's say, for instance, the whale. It is not animated at all. It's like it's a bath toy being moved around. But at the same time, it's one of those things that it's a very, very rough game, but but you have to look at it and think, okay, am I supposed to, is this missing an animation that, they just didn't have the money and time to do? Or is this an artistic thing? And that's one of those things that I'm not sure which it is. Or, maybe they just, have the whale doing these strange movements while staying pretty much perfectly still. It does move its mouth, of course. As just a rule of funny, It looks funny, just diving down and swimming sideways.
Right. I see. So that reminds me of Stanley Parable. I've seen something that looks like Portal.
Yeah, there's a Portal level. There's it's not a Stanley Parable level, but there's an Office level, of course. There's the Mario level. There's the first level. You're on a train.
Yay, trains!
Choo choo, motherfucker! But all the levels are very diverse, and I didn't really notice anything reused. So maybe it's just assets from a Unity store or something, which is not a sin of itself. And the fact that all the parts, mesh together, it's definitely not a sin then. I didn't notice anything particularly out of place outside of, just, the whale isn't moving quite right. Or there's a Jurassic Park level, and the dinosaur just kind of stands there and does a single auto animation that, barely moves. But at the same time, maybe that's the entire point,
Yeah.
But here's the thing that, made this a lot less frustrating for me than Quantum Conundrum. This guy has upper body strength. If you miss a jump, he could actually pull himself up onto a ledge.
Yeah, I see that in the video.
Yeah, that's a very minor thing that, is pretty much bog standard now for most platformers. But you don't see it a lot in first-person platformers. And it makes such a huge gameplay difference. And the fact that he actually has legs as well. I mean, you can look down and look at your gut.
Yes. That is absolutely what I want to see. Because that would make me feel just like I was doing it for real. Look down and see my gut.
No, it gets better.
Okay.
2 words. Jiggle physics.
Please tell me they're for your man boobs.
No, just the gut.
Oh, sad day, but okay.
Yeah, sorry. I guess I've taken this off your wish list now.
Nah, it's still there.
But yeah, it's one of those games that I didn't think it was that bad. Which, for me, is high praise, isn't it?
It is. Usually this is my sort of territory where I'd be like, yeah, it's a little bit rough, it's got some issues, but, golly gee, they tried something neat, and it was kind of fun.
Maybe it's just the fact that this guy has upper body strength, and they did interesting things with the levels, where the portal level is pretty simple to figure out. I mean, you could probably figure it out, just me saying, okay, you have to kill yourself in portal as a regular guy.
Yeah.
But then the tower level, where you have this long tower that you have to climb, and it has, I want to say, 4 or 5 different puzzles in it to defeat. It was really well put together. And it's just, yes, it is rough, but I enjoyed it. And I don't think it really would outstay its welcome. Granted, I was starting to hit the point where I was running into vehicle sections, which could be, a game changer.
Okay.
And I didn't really spend enough time to figure out. I got to level 13 out of 25. about the halfway point, and that's the first time that I hit a vehicle, and it was a very, very rough vehicle section. But well, technically, I already had a vehicle section with the spaceship. Definitely not the Enterprise.
Yep, definitely not. You can tell in the video that it's definitely not the Enterprise. In the trailer, I should say. You can tell, definitely not.
But yeah, if you want to play something cheap that throws a lot of different themed levels at you, it's not a terrible way to spend $5.
Nice. I might spend $5.
Or just wait for it to go on sale and spend 3 or 2 or maybe even 1.
Could do that too. Okie dokie. Well, does that mean it's my turn?
I think so.
Sweet. So, pretty much not the only, but the game I played the most this week was Mass Effect Andromeda. So, I bought it on PC, and boy, oh boy, howdy, is that much better than playing on console. Everything that I said about the Xbox One version still stands true. Like, I'm really proud of seeing a console game that gives you some graphical options, and it still played well and things like that. But man, playing games at 60 FPS is so great. You should give it a try. And also the game obviously looks way better because I've got powerful hardware behind it. So I can run it at 1080, 60 with everything set to ultra maximum. And
yeah, but do you have the highest quality pixels?
You know what? I don't have the highest quality pixels, but I'm okay with that because I have real graphical options and hardware.
But anyways, not the highest quality pixels, so it doesn't count.
Fuck them. But yeah, I've got it running 1080p, 60, everything on ultra. I mean, it doesn't skip a beat. There actually have been a couple of times where the frame rate dips into like the mid 50s. Whenever you get into some actual conversations with people, I'm assuming it's still being rendered, like everything's being rendered in real time, but the camera punches in on the people talking, and so you get a lot more details on faces and things. I assume that's why it slows down just a little bit, because that takes some extra effort. But
yeah, it has to try. Okay, don't derp, don't derp, don't derp.
There's actually less derp on the PC version. In fact, I haven't seen any derp. There has been some stuff that looks a little bit weird, and I think it's just that sort of uncanny valley territory, like the way they rendered the faces and eyes make them seem a little off. But there's not been any derp. Like, there's been no eyes rolling in the back of the heads. There's been no mouse doing anything weird. I assume that just comes down to the fact that any issues that could be happening on consoles don't happen on PCs, maybe because of more powerful hardware. Like, some kind of issue that occasionally causes them to bug out doesn't happen because more powerful processors and GPUs don't have those issues. I don't know. I have no idea. But, I mean, I've played it for, 16 hours or so on PC and haven't seen a single derp face or weird, walk or anything. So, I don't know. I have no clue.
So, this is no longer a Ministry of Silly Walks approved game. Got it.
No, it's not. Not if you play on PC. But, the main things I want to call attention to. So, I spent about 4 hours getting to where it took me to get in 10-ish on the console, just because I knew where everything was, and I was, skipping all the dialogue because I knew what everyone had to say because it was so fresh in my mind. Playing it farther, I got to the point where I can basically try to start banging everyone, and this is the most inclusive that they have ever been with being able to bang people. Your entire
they've
crew...
included nipples.
Your entire crew and half the people, it feels like, on the Nexus, you can be there's a flirt option. It's like, hey, how you doing? And it's one person just straight up's like, hey, I think you're hot. We should totally make out. I'm not even kidding. That's you do that, and then the guy's like, you're not very subtle, are you, Ryder? She's like, hey, I know what I want. He's like, I'll remember that. But it's just great the way that it lets you do it, because nobody
and now
gets
I'm having
weirded
a telltale flashback. So we'll remember this.
Yeah, but I love the way that they do it. I think that this is pretty much how it would happen in real life. It's like you go to flirt with someone and they're like, hey, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you're interested in me, but actually I don't like girls. I like dudes because I'm still playing female writer. It's like I'm into dudes, and it's like, all right, I can respect that. And it doesn't hurt your relationships or anything with any of the other people. So that's nice. It's split pretty evenly. There's like 3 or 4 romanceable characters that are just into you. They're bi. They don't care. There's 3 or 4 that only like dudes, and there's 3 or 4 that only like chicks. So that's pretty nice. I mean, there might be some more that I haven't found yet, but I mean, so far it's been fairly split. They also tackle an interesting issue about religion. One of the people that you can initiate, or that you can try and romance, is religious. Some sort of, it seems like Buddhist or Taoist sort of Eastern religion where the, energies and karma and things like that. But they tackle it in a really mature way, and you can have like some pretty decent conversations with this character and like ask them about their religion and their beliefs. And I mean, you can be an asshole to them. Like, one of the options is to just like make fun of them for having religious beliefs, or you can just like learn about them, and that's pretty cool. BioWare is so fucking good, in my opinion, at putting together dialogue and developing characters. I mean, that's been what's hooked me really since KOTOR. That was the first game I ever played of BioWare's, was KOTOR. So, I mean, I've been on board with that since day one. I feel like every game they do, they get better at it. Also, I've noticed, I didn't realize this at first, but I've noticed that there's no Paragon or Renegade system anymore. Like, you make choices, and those choices have consequences, but no one ever says, like, that was a good choice, or that was a bad choice. Just like, well, that's the choice you made. Like, for example, the first colony that you place, you get to choose whether it's a science or like a research colony or a military colony, which is basically like the science colony is more focused on civilian stuff, and the military colony is more focused on defense and creating militia and things like that. And I chose the science colony because I'm like, hey, we're not here to wage war. We're here to build new civilizations. But everyone was like, hey, that was a really tough choice. I'm not sure if I would have made the same choice, but you're the boss and we're going to support you. And there were some story consequences a little bit later. There were some people who were upset because their families weren't going to get to come out of cryosleep sooner because you chose the science guys over the military guys. And I assume the same thing would have happened in reverse, but at no point does anyone go like, nope, you got some bad points for that, or oh, you got some good points for that. It just opened up some different story options, and I've noticed that happening a lot more often the farther I get in. Some of it's small-scale stuff, some of it's large-scale stuff.
So like, you're saying that there's no reporters to punch?
No, there's still people to punch. You just don't get renegade points for punching them.
But that made me feel so much better to get the renegade points for punching that ass.
Oh, yeah. I decked the reporter immediately. I hated that reporter. Dumb bitch. But anyways, there's another point a little bit later on where you meet this character and you're trying to earn his trust, and you genuinely, like, you can lie to him or you can tell him the truth. And I mean, I told him the truth, but when he found out I told him the truth, he's like, wow, I really appreciate you telling me the truth. That means I trust you a little bit more now. And then it opens up some additional dialogue options with him, and I think it's fast-tracked one of the quests that I was trying to do for him. And it's just, I like that much better. It feels much more dynamic as opposed to, oh, you told me the truth, here, have some light side points. I mean, that system only really makes sense in the Star Wars games, and even then it's feels kind of like a stretch, but so that's nice. I really like that aspect about it. And really, that's all I wanted to say. As I go forward in the story, as I get towards the end, I might talk about some of the things that I really didn't like about the game, or really did like about the game overall. But I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's good that I waited until after all of the bugs and everything were fixed, because if the game was completely unplayable, I would be upset. But I don't think it's a bad game.
Why would you be happy that the game is unplayable?
I just think it's a different game than the other Mass Effects. And in a way, I like it more, because there is a lot more to it of exploring and discovering. And I mean, I said that last week. It's really nice to watch your settlements grow, and the changes you make to the space station, and how it develops as you go along and new wings open up and things like that. And I like that sense of exploration and like, I did this. Like, I know it's a video game, but it gives me, it makes me feel good. Like, yeah, that's right. I made these choices and I fixed all this shit. Feels good. I like it. Other game that I played this week, Minecraft.
I never heard of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about it. Just I wound up playing it a lot with another one of my kids. Again, working on some communication skills and being able to work well with others. And we're just playing some Minecraft and building ourselves a little house and, doing Minecrafty things, chopping down trees with our bare fists and digging into the ground with wooden tools.
Yeah, I remember. Dig straight down.
Absolutely. But it's nice. It's really relaxing. And this kid is super combative and argumentative, but as soon as we start playing games, it's like, yeah, let's discuss things and what resources do you need? Oh, let's work together to build this house before the first night comes and all the creepers come and eat and blow us up. So it's been nice. And I actually went and I installed it on my laptop. I'm probably going to play it a little bit by myself because Minecraft is a great podcast game for me. And it's very relaxing. That's the main reason I play Minecraft. Just like listen to, kind of like whenever I play Euro Truck 4 or whatever, just kind of get into my Zen state, listen to some podcasts, chill out, relax. And it's been a while since I've done that in Minecraft, and it's one of those games that every once in a while I'll just reinstall it and play for a bit.
I'm trying to remember what the mod was that I installed, but it added a bunch of extra creatures. And my biggest Minecraft memory is this giant ogre creature. I just started this world. It was the first night. And I found this kind of just partial room behind a waterfall. So I sealed it up to wait out the night. And then I hear something getting closer and closer and closer. And then suddenly the wall gets bashed in and he comes through like the fucking Kool-Aid man. And kills me.
Nice.
And this thing was 3 blocks tall. I mean, and 2 wide. I mean, it was just this massive ogre. And it just, went right through the wall. I assume that it was a rare creature that I ran into. At least I hope if it was that, because if it was a common thing in that mod, that would just, kill it. Because, just dying over and over again against a creature that you had no chance to defeat on the first night is just, not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
But it's just one of those. There's something's coming closer. What the hell is that? I've never heard that. Oh yeah.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I might have some Minecraft stories in the coming weeks if I get back into it again. I'm definitely gonna play it a little bit, but we'll see. And then the other game I played this week was Grand Theft Auto 5. Once again, another client. This kid is way too young to be playing Grand Theft Auto, but joining with a client usually outweighs usually outweighs like the negatives of doing something that might not be best for them. I mean, unless you're like doing drugs with your clients, but that's a whole nother thing. So
where's the line on fucking them?
You should never cross that line. But anyways, he and I played for probably 2 hours total this week, since last week. And some of the things that I'm not sure if some of the problems are the fact that it's on console because he's got a PS4, so we've played it on PS4. But there are a lot of game design issues in GTA that I do not like.
Oh, don't worry, Shark Cards fixes it.
I don't like the movement system is terrible.
You're gonna have to explain that one a little bit more because I haven't played GTA 5 yet.
Everything has got a little bit of not lag. Everything just feels really slow and floaty and lazy.
Is it sort of like how GTA 4 had some momentum and inertia in their movement system with the Euphoria procedural animations?
Yes, actually, that's probably what it is. But I don't like it. It makes everything feel like it's like it's underwater. Um, so just in my opinion, just like generally walking around and doing anything is way too imprecise and complicated. Again, that could be the issue that, I'm using a controller instead of a mouse, keyboard and mouse, but I don't like it. The driving's fine. Driving is way better than Grand Theft Auto 4, so that's...
Well, GTA 4 was more realistic, where cars had weight to them, and I actually really like GTA 4's driving once I got used to it, but that's the thing, is that there's that initial hump to get over. And the same with the procedural, the Euphoria animations, where it was hilarious, getting drunk and watching a character flail around. But for some things, it definitely I would have preferred just canned animations.
Yeah.
Granted,
also,
there was one mission where you shot guys off a roof, and you're watching them tumble as a proper ragdoll was nice.
My biggest problem is I hate having to tap a button to sprint.
Yeah, but that's pretty much how it is in the GTA series.
I was getting so frustrated. This kid was like, "Why don't you just sprint?" I was like, "No, I refuse to tap that button. You're just gonna have to wait on me or go without me." He was like, "Okay, I'll wait for you." I mean, it's like this 11-year-old kid, and I'm like complaining about game design stuff with him right there, and he's like, "But I really like it," and I was like, "Well, yeah, but you're 11. You don't know any better. I do."
Yeah, but the thing is that it's been like that since I'm assuming GTA 3. I never really played that much of GTA 3. Vice City was the first one that I really spent a lot of time with, and it was like that there. So
yeah,
it's legacy design, but that really comes down to the fact that you don't really have a lot of buttons.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder: are we due for more buttons on the standard controller?
I don't know. I mean,
is it something maybe closer to the Steam controller where you have the extra paddles on the back?
I mean, you have a total. I guess if you count each of the D-pads as one, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 buttons if you count start and select, and I'm also including the clicking down of the thumbsticks.
Who counts buttons. Starts and select?
Really nobody. So 14 buttons. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many keys most PC games use. I never really thought about it. Because you have so many, you don't have to worry about it.
How many AAA, especially AAA, but just console games in general, has that context button where it does 20 billion things depending on what you're looking at?
Many of them. I just like the context button. It makes it difficult to do some things sometimes. Some games, though, do just well. I mean, even though I'm playing it on PC, I'm still playing Mass Effect Andromeda with my controller. Although the combat is a very small portion of that game. You do mostly driving and stuff. I just kick back in my chair. I've got like a little stool I bring in here so I can recline in front of my desk. And I just recline and play with my controller. It's great. But, I mean, like games like Skyrim or, like the Bethesda RPGs, I can't play those with controller anymore. Because there's too many functions that you need multiple buttons for. And the context stuff and all their quick menus and everything are bullshit, so.
Well, I absolutely detest the thumbstick look. Just that sluggish looking left and right.
Yeah. If I couldn't do it if Mass Effect was a first-person game as well. But since it's third-person, I've just punched out the FOV all the way. And that's not really too much of a problem. And like I said, combat is such a small part of the game. So I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I can't stand first-person looking around with a controller anymore.
Yeah, it drives me nuts whenever I see gameplay footage, and it's obviously gamepad because of just how they're not only just looking left and right, but how they move.
Yeah,
because that's one thing I've noticed is that for most of the time, gamepad gameplay, people sidestep a lot instead of looking left and right.
Yeah. Well, whenever I play games with a gamepad now, I turn the sensitivity up to maximum, and even then it's usually too slow. But most people are like most of these kids now that I'm in there, going to their homes playing games with them, they're like, how can you like see what you're doing? It's like you should try playing games on a PC, kid. This is so slow. You'll get so used to moving so quickly and so precisely. You'll get frustrated at the lack of control you have with the controller.
I'll just imagine, well, if it was ever updated, can you imagine TF2 on the console where the big thing to counter a spy is to glance over your shoulder every so often?
I mean, I've played TF2 on a console, and you just don't do that. Spies are way worse on console. I mean, stuff could have changed. It's been years since I played it, but...
TF2 only got like 2 or 3 updates on the consoles. But then again, TF2 also got 300 some updates on PC.
300 something and counting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyways, back to Grand Theft Auto 5. I don't know. I'd like to play it on PC and give it a shot, but a lot of the things that I've experienced so far just make me not really want to play the game as much anymore. Like, I don't want to put in all the work to get the cool stuff in Grand Theft Auto Online, or in GTA Online, which
but
would
you
make,
just buy it.
Which would make playing with our friends, like, make that fun. I don't like a lot of the aspects of the game, which would make the single player less fun for me. And it never goes on sale for less than like $25 or $30. So, I don't know. I was kind of sad though. Like, GTA is a big game that I enjoy playing, or well, used to, but could just be that I've changed as a gamer. Probably is that.
Or
my expectations are.
I think it may be a little bit of you changed as a gamer, but also GTA has changed.
Yeah. And even though, I mean, between the two of us, I've got, obviously the reputation for me, like, yeah, that's good enough. I can love this. Like, my expectations are a bit higher for certain things. And GTA 5 is just not what I expected it to be once I played it. And I mean, I'd like to, like I said, I'd like to play it on PC, give it a shot that way. But, I mean, the only way to do that is to buy it, try it, and then if it sucks, refund it. And you can do that, but I don't want to do that.
Which 2 hours is not enough time to really get a feel for a GTA. Hell, you can't get out the tutorials in 2 hours on GTA. At least if GTA 5 is anything like the last 3, 4 in the series.
Yeah. So that kind of sucks. I was looking forward to playing it, but, you win some, you lose some. I'm sure this will make several of our listeners sad. I know that they love GTA 5.
I mean, I do want to play it at some point. It's just they have no incentive to really put it on a strong discount because GTA Online is just a money generator. I kind of wish GTA Online was a separate game.
I had that thought actually when I was playing it, because we did do some single player stuff a little bit and just kind of took turns. But then his brother's got a PS4 too. And so then we used the PS4 one time to play multiplayer together. And I was like, why isn't this just a separate game that they sell for, I don't know, $20 or $25? They could still have the shark cards and everything in it. They'd still make money that way.
Well, supposedly they were going to have single-player DLC, but there's no incentive to do it because, you don't get nearly as much money out of it. I mean, I understand why they focused on GTA Online because, they would be stupid not to, but at the same time, it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Yep. Oh well. Maybe someday it'll be cheap enough that I want to buy it.
Maybe. Probably after GTA 6 comes out.
Yeah, in like 5 or 6 more years.
Oh, you're being optimistic.
Yeah, I guess so. Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps us up for the games this week. And of course, we went over a little bit. But that's okay.
Only 15 or so minutes.
Do you need to take a quick break before we dive into Game Club, or are you good?
I think I'm alright, unless you need to go.
I think I'm okay. My throat's getting a little bit, I don't know, a little bit scratchy, but I've got plenty of liquids here, so I'll be fine.
Oh my.
Alrighty. Well, then let's go talk about our monthly game club. Portal 1 and 2.
What is the game club? That's something we need to start doing.
Right. We have gotten some new Twitter followers and presumably some new listeners who this may be their first game club, or second game club, whatever. But they're not entirely sure what game club is. Game club is a thing that we do every month where we choose a game.
Lovely stolen from somewhere that I don't recall where you stole it from. So,
from The Patch, which was the Rooster Teeth video game podcast, which doesn't exist anymore. But they did a game club where that they would play a game every 2 to 3 episodes. Like everyone on the show would play it together, and I like that idea because you and I play lots of games, but in general we have different tastes, and even the games that we like, we have very different ways to approach games. So we said, you know what?
Yeah, you like to touch everything and break things.
I do. And you just like to complain about things and be very grumpy.
And get sun on fire.
Yeah, and get sun on fire. But so anyway, so for Game Club, we said, you know what? We'll do that. Once a month, we'll each play a game, and then we'll talk about it. And, things we liked, disliked, do we recommend it or not? Some games have taken a long time to go through. Some games have been pretty quickly. But I think this one will be somewhere in between. Portal's got a decent amount of substance to it, but it's fairly mechanically focused, especially Portal 1. And the mechanical discussions always go faster.
Yeah, and we decided, since Portal 1 is so short, just throw Portal 1 in with Portal 2 and do the entire series.
Yep.
Which you played this in probably about the worst order possible, because you did Portal 2 multiplayer with me ages ago. Then I assume that you did Portal 1 and Portal 2 single player.
Well, I have played Portal 1 previously. I played, what was it, Still Alive, the one that came on the orange box.
Yeah, which is different.
Yeah, so I played that one initially, several years ago. And then we played Portal 2 multiplayer, and then I played Portal 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Still Alive has extra content in it. I'm not 100% sure.
I looked it up. It's got extra puzzles, like no extra story content or anything, just a few additional puzzles and some random dialogue. The only thing that it changes is the ending. Chell gets dragged back into the facility. That was patched into the portal on Steam as well. Oh, okay. I did not realize that.
Yeah, that was the initial hint that, that's weird. They changed the ending. That they did that before they announced Portal 2. As a matter of fact, on the PC version, in Portal 1, there's radios all over the place that's playing the kind of jazzy version of Still Alive.
Yeah.
And if you collected all of them, it unlocked a piece of an ARG that was the lead up to Portal 2.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
And now you know.
And knowing's half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
But so anyways, we're going to do Portal 1, then Portal 2, then Portal 2 multiplayer. And we're just going to talk about every aspect of each game, or I guess for Portal 2 multiplayer, that game mode.
Yeah, and technically there's another one that we're really not going to talk about is there's a little bit of stuff with the workshop content where they have some voice lines there as well.
The infinite testing facility or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't look into that at all.
Well, that's one of those things that when it came out, I listened to the line separately. And it's not even Gladys for that.
Who is it?
Cave Johnson.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. You probably want to go listen to that. That's about 15 or 20 minutes worth of dialogue. Pretty much random though, but there's callbacks to the game as well.
Yeah, I'll have to go listen to that later.
Yeah, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, so Portal 1.
The kind of the hidden gem of the orange box. This came out of nowhere for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's very short. Unless you're like really bad at it, you can beat it in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, well, I think I took about 3 this time around, but I was also listening to the developer commentary throughout it.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I want more games to have developer commentary.
Yeah. I probably will do another playthrough actually in the near to medium future and play them both with developer commentary. Wait, does Portal 2 have developer commentary?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I played through Portal 2 with developer commentary as well. Granted, there's a lot in the beginning. Then towards the middle, there's not a lot. One or two nodes here or there. Then towards the end, it picks up again.
Okay. Yeah. So Portal 1, like you said, sort of a hidden gem that came out of nowhere back in, what, 2009? Or was it earlier than that?
Probably should have wrote down the release dates for these, shouldn't we?
Probably should have done that.
That would have been professional.
That would have been the smart professional
2007.
thing to do. 2007. Okay, so it's even older than I thought.
Yeah, it's nearly 10 years old.
And at the time, it had a lot of groundbreaking stuff in it. I
don't think it's the first person puzzler, but it definitely kicked off the genre, showing just what can be done with it.
Yeah. What can be done when you combine some of the physics aspects of the Half-Life games with specifically puzzle-based first-person gameplay, and having the GLaDOS, her wit. I mean, GLaDOS wasn't as big of a thing in the original Portal, but there's still plenty of times where she's quippy and witty and sarcastic, and
particularly towards about the middle of the game. But,
yeah,
we may be getting ahead of ourselves. Well, I want to ask you, what do you think of the art style, real quick? That sterile test chamber.
It's interesting. It's, in some ways, it's very beautiful and minimalistic, and in other ways, it's kind of ugly and you don't really pay attention to it.
But it also gives
much.
A really good stark contrast to whenever you start breaking the rules of the game, or rules and sarcasm quotes.
Yeah, the rules of the facility,
but the reason why I asked that is that originally it wasn't in Aperture, it was in Nova Prospect in the Half-Life universe. Well, granted, it's still in the Half-Life universe, but it was in Half-Life 2's universe.
Right.
And it was a lot busier. And that's something that they talked about quite a bit in the developer commentary. And something that, if it was looked more like just a mod for Half-Life 2, I think they would have lost a lot in this game.
I agree. I really, even though it's in some ways, sometimes it's like brilliant, and in other ways, like I said, it looks kind of dirty and you don't notice it. That art style is what makes Portal a lot of what the game it is. Like, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like, you're at a test chamber, you're doing these weird tests for this sadistic computer, and everything is sterile and fairly nondescript. But if it was anywhere else, I don't think it would have worked as well.
Yeah, there's some footage of when it was essentially a mod for Half-Life 2, and it just looks like such a different game. It's one of those things that you look at it and think how sterile and boring it looks, but then you realize just how much that makes a game.
Well, also, if it's busier, it makes the puzzling aspect more difficult.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the reason why I was having trouble with Quantum Conundrum and I didn't like it, is that it is a very busy environment.
Yeah. Because basically, you look at it and you're like, okay, this type of surface, this color, I can put portals on. This one I can't. I know that for a fact. That never changes from room to room, test to test. But if you were in, the wilderness or something, they would either have to make them very obvious and sort of immersion breaking, or you would always be like, I wonder if I can use this or that to do a portal or to solve a puzzle. So I think it's positives far outweigh its negatives as a artistic design choice.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my game time, and it looks like I spent just over 2 hours, so I spent less time than I thought I did going through with developer commentary.
Yeah. So the Portal aspect of the game.
Well, if you live under a rock, we should probably explain what Portal is. Yeah, just a complete exercise in futility.
Yeah. So in Portal, you play a human by the name of Chell, although I don't think you ever find that out in game, do you?
Not in the first one. Uh, the second one, and also the tie-in comic for the second one. Which, did you ever read that?
No, I'm aware of it, but I've never read it.
It's just a short little thing. Maybe it's something you should look at in between games. I don't know, but they do say her first name, but they never mention her last name.
Gotcha. But anyways, you're playing as Chell, and you are in a testing facility of some sort where they have this portal gun, which literally creates interdimensional portals where that you can walk from one place to another through walls covering infinite time and space, as they show in Portal 2. And your goal at first is to go through the testing chambers and complete the tests, and then later on you realize that the AI that's running the tests is psychotic and trying to kill you for her own amusement, and so then you try to escape and ultimately defeat her. It's pretty.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it right there.
There's not a lot of story in Portal, but Portal did a lot with non-vocal or non-explicit story, especially whenever you started going behind the scenes and you started seeing the Ratman dens. Just the little nest of maybe someone ahead of you in the testing, maybe someone that's running wild in the facility. And they do expand on that in the tie-in comic a little bit, and also it shows up a lot more in Portal 2. But it's just little touches like that made it where a game that your character just never says a word, and everything that the one voice you hear in the game says is you're never responding to at all.
Yeah.
It's just such a great story that it reminds me of sort of the silent movies, where where your actions and the set itself is the story.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can really think of that even that is a comparable thing to it is how Bethesda sets up miniature stories in like the Fallout universe, where the one that I always see floating around online is the have you ever seen the one with the motorcycle in Fallout 3? There's a random ramp and on this road in Fallout 3, and down the road there's a motorcycle on its side, and hanging from the ceiling is a skeleton. Nice. So someone either before or just after the apocalypse was trying to take some sweet ramp jumps and killed themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've never found that one before, but I've seen plenty of those in other Bethesda games.
Yeah, or New Vegas, where it's, well, granted, this is more explicit, but the first major, I guess the second town that you're in, the one with the hotel and the roller coaster, the hostage situation that you stumble across there, that didn't turn out so well because the bombs fell.
Yeah.
But just little stories like that. This is a sort of like that, where everything is in the set dressing, and you go through and really miss a lot if you just rush it. Granted, there's not a lot of little nooks and crannies to find, but the ones that you can find, at least in the first Portal, tells quite a bit of story and are very well detailed. Yeah. And of course, that's where the meme came from. The cake is a lie.
The cake is a lie. Yeah.
Portal 2 didn't really get a lot of memes from it, did it?
I don't think so. Although Portal 2 got the wonderful Miracle of Sound song.
Yeah, true. Wheatley's song.
Yeah. I'm I'm struggling to say much more about Portal. Like, it's a great game. I really enjoy Portal. It's one of the few puzzle, platform. It's not really a platformer. There is platforming in it, but
there is, Portal 1 has a lot more platforming in it than Portal 2 does, or I should say, direct platforming. I talked about how Portal 2 has a lot of on rails platforming, where if you perform the maneuver correctly, or it's a lot of times your innate momentum takes you what would have been a normal platforming section. Or, you're, well, in Portal 2, they have a jump plate that, kicks you around, and, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's your platforming sections.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, it's great. I love it, but there's so little there to talk about for Portal 1 in terms of
this is why we're including it with Portal 2.
Right. And I mean, the mechanics in it are solid, amazing. Yeah. I mean, if they had fucked those up, no one would care about Portal. It would be like Quantum Conundrum.
Yeah, there is one segment where you're climbing with the fling maneuver. I really think that's a neat segment, showing just how well the momentum is conserved. And, it makes you feel, well, not like you're flying. You are flying, but, it has that sense of speed where that one translated to just like a Mario-like jump.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? That one section towards the end of the game, I think it is, where it's a series of platforms that you're climbing.
Yes.
And you have to... it's one of the few sections... Portal 1 has a lot more sections in it where you're having to quickly put portals down while you're in the air. Portal 2 does have a couple where you have to do them while in the air, but most of the time you could set them up ahead of time. But that one is one of the big ones. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, something that I think applies to both games and the multiplayer section of Portal 2. The puzzle design is really simple but elegant.
Yeah, they talk about this in the dev commentary, the aha moment, where there's this fine balance between making a puzzle that's so tough that you feel absolutely stupid when you get the solution. Like, oh, I should have seen that earlier. And then there's the inverse of that where, you're never really challenged. And Portal hits that medium really well. There was one part that I remember having a very frustrating part, was just after the first rocket turret. I shouldn't say never. It took me a while to see the air duct because it didn't really pop out from the wall. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
After the rocket turret, you have to go through and destroy a glass pipe, and that teaches... Yeah, well, in Portal 2, that's a teaching moment. It doesn't really apply here. It's teaching you how to redirect the rockets from the rocket turret, so it is a teaching moment. And that's one thing that Portal 2 does really well, is their training of the player to understand how the puzzles work. Because if you try to explain these without the gameplay, it's very, very tough to understand. Your momentum is conserved between portals. Well, what does that mean? But for a portal, you jump into a portal and you shoot out the other one, and you can see it very easily how it handles. But right after that rocket turret, there's this air duct that I just missed for, I would say probably about 5 minutes on my first playthrough, just because it didn't really pop visually while everything else did.
Yeah. Well, and the way too, like you said, they teach you most, maybe all of every time there's going to be a new mechanic that you learn, as you come into the room, you get a good view of it being applied in some way the first time you have to use it. Like in Portal 1, when you see the portal gun for the first time, you walk in and it's below you and you can see it, and it's on that rotating
this is something else that they talked about in the dev commentary quite in length, about just how this was for the well, they talked about it on both the first and the second Portal device, where that teaching moment of forcing the player to stop and look and having an audio cue of what exactly is happening. It's just a small thing, but it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a really good job with it. So, the puzzles feel designed really well, and you never feel, like you said, you don't feel stupid.
Unless I'm missing that air duct.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's perfect. Occasionally, you might have a little mishap, but in general, you don't feel stupid. I always feel like, or felt like, I'm just not quite seeing it in the right way. Not that this puzzle is too difficult, or not that I, don't have the skills to solve it. I just need to stop and take a minute and see if I'm missing something. And usually doing that, you can go, oh, I missed this thing over here. I actually need to time this jump better, or I missed that box that I need to drop down, or whatever. So, I never felt like I couldn't complete any puzzle. Just occasionally I would have to stop and take a moment and really take in everything and make sure I wasn't missing anything.
And, well, one last thing that we should probably talk about is the humor.
Yeah, I love Portal's humor.
That kind of dark, sarcastic humor.
Yeah.
And just little things that, if you're not really paying attention, it's like, wait, what did she just say? That whole, bring your daughter to work day is the perfect time to have her tested. Wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's very, well, I can't really call it subtle, because it's one of those things that, yes, it's very obvious, but it doesn't bash you over the head of, laugh now, laugh now. And maybe that's what I miss on a lot of funny and sarcasm quotes games these days, is that they try too hard.
Yeah, I don't feel like Portal's trying. Well, trying too hard. I think it's trying, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. I agree with you. Nothing really feels forced unless the point of the joke is that it feels forced.
Yeah, and that's where the writing comes in and does a really, really good job, as well as the voice acting. Which, some people may be surprised that, yes, Glass is voice acted.
Yeah.
And actually, that is the announcer in Team Fortress 2.
Didn't know that. Also, GLaDOS does the voice of the computer in, they use the GLaDOS voice in Pacific Rim, the movie. I guess the movies, they're making a sequel now. And they use the GLaDOS voice for the computers inside the Jaegers.
Please tell me she's sarcastic.
I don't think so. It's been a while since I've seen Pacific Rim, so she might do, but I don't think so.
That's disappointing. She's just not snarking the entire time.
Yeah, she does the entire voiceover for the Pacific Rim 2 trailer that came out at Comic-Con. She's not really, that voice isn't really snarky there either.
Oh well.
It's a little bit more playful. It starts out really serious and then it gets a little bit playful, but it's not snarky. Anyways,
anything else we should really talk about? Maybe the boss fight. There's not a lot there, but it's one of those that it uses what it taught you very well.
Yeah, it felt weirdly out of place the first time I did it. I don't know. I mean, it's
maybe it's the time limit.
Maybe it's the time limit. I don't know. It just felt odd. Like, this whole game is about solving puzzles, and yeah, there's the turrets and stuff, but really they're just another obstacle that you have to figure out how to overcome in solving a puzzle. But I guess you could say the same thing about GLaDOS fighting her at the end. I don't know. It just felt weird.
GLaDOS, the real difference I see with GLaDOS is that she's a time puzzle. And that's something that you don't really have otherwise. I mean, there's timing in the puzzles, but there's not a set time limit. And maybe that's what's throwing you off, and that does make it feel a bit weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have that... if you didn't have that direct confrontation with GLaDOS, I think it would have been a lacking ending for Portal.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right. It just and that might be it.
And there's just no way to really do it very well without some sort of arbitrary limit.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So how else would you do it? Because the only other way would be some sort of direct attack from GLaDOS, which she is doing a direct attack, but it's a very phased thing. You hit her, she gets stunned for a bit until you do the thing. Throw the ball into the incinerator, and it's sort of payback for the weighted companion cube.
Yeah,
which that's the other big meme from Portal is the weighted companion cube, of course, which we completely skipped over, huh?
We did. I thought about the companion cube for a second, and then I just let it go.
Well, you did murder your companion cube faster than anyone else on record.
Yeah. Oh, the companion cube. All right, is it confirmed in lore that the companion cubes are like people? Or consciousnesses?
No. Well, in Portal 2, she does say they're sentient, but GLaDOS is a big liar.
Yeah, and sentient. I mean, since GLaDOS is an AI, they could be some form of AI.
Yeah, let's just call them a cube that has a heart painted on them that GLaDOS talks about a lot. And the entire reason why the weighted companion cube exists is that people were leaving their cubes behind in that one puzzle. So to get playtesters to keep their cube around to be able to solve the puzzle a lot quicker than having to backtrack once they discovered, oh, I need my cube, is to GLaDOS to start talking about it a lot. And that was actually in the dev commentary.
Interesting. That's a good psychological trick.
Yeah. I'm sure that you picked up on a lot of psychological tricks in this.
Oh, yeah. In my, I make reference to them in my psych eval of GLaDOS.
Did it change any as you got towards the end of Portal 2?
Not really. Do you want to just jump into Portal 2?
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, in Portal 2, when she finds out that she's the consciousness of that girl, Caroline, and she starts to be nice to you. Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, this is interesting. This is character development. How am I gonna write this up and reflect it? But then at the end of the game, she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna delete everything about Caroline and go back to being good old GLaDOS.
Well,
I was like, okay.
Well, there's one line in it that kind of stuck with me. Is that she talked about how the scientists tried to control her by essentially putting more and more and more voices in her head. And for the first time, when she's the potato, is when she had just her voice. And it makes you wonder just how much of that is GLaDOS fighting back from just, forced schizophrenia.
That would not be...
Well, sorry, probably wrong term, but
Yeah. I guess it depends on... I mean, it's one of those things
it really depends on just, what the different voices are saying, because, you had Wheatley, constantly giving bad ideas. You had the cake sphere that's just, making her more and more obsessed with cake, which is probably the reason why we only have, one reference to cake in, in Portal 2.
Yeah. But all of that stuff, the thing is that I'm lacking a lot of context. I suppose we can do that at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it at the end, but I was lacking a lot of context, and there's plenty of stuff in the two games, but it's like, well, without a little bit more information, I can't really decide if this fits into column A or column B. So it took me a little bit of time to settle on what I did. But I'm quite pleased with it.
Well, since we're talking about GLaDOS's character a little bit more, what do you think of their idea of essentially adding more voices to an already unstable AI? That seems rather crazy, doesn't it?
That seems like a really dumb idea.
Also known as aperture science.
Yep.
Aperture Science. We put the science in mad science.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a really stupid idea. I mean, interesting way to tackle the problem, like slow her down. But if you had somebody
it's not just Wheatley, which we haven't even really mentioned Wheatley yet, because we're kind of still on GLaDOS. It's just the fact that let's name off the spheres. We have from Portal 1 the anger sphere that just growls, the cake sphere, the morality sphere, and what is the curiosity sphere. Then in Portal 2 you have the space sphere. Granted, these aren't connected to her, but they could have been at some point, and that's the thing. You have the space sphere, the fact sphere that gives factoids, just incorrect facts. Rick the adventure sphere, also known as the best sphere. And of course, Wheatley.
Yeah.
So that's a lot already, and that's just a few, and there was an entire pile of them. It makes you wonder just how many voices she went through.
Yeah,
and actually, it makes me a little sad for her.
Yeah, I definitely felt a lot of pity for her during Portal 2. That definitely was not there during Portal 1, or even during the multiplayer portion of Portal 2.
And it also makes me wonder, since we know GLaDOS lies, did she delete Carolyn?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, she specifically mentions her in the end song.
Well, I considered dissociative identity disorder, which is more commonly known as multiple personality disorder, as one of the primary diagnostic criteria to give her. And in DID, you can't just remove a personality. And so I tried to
yeah, but she's also a computer.
She is, but I tried to keep it at least grounded in some sort of rules. And so I treated her kind of like a brain.
Oh, this is going to be so interesting when we get to this.
So, but ultimately, you can't just remove a personality. They can get quote unquote better over time and eventually go away, but you can't just say, I'm not going to have this one anymore. So at best, she probably suppressed it, pushed it down, but it'll come back at some
point which in time that's what triggered. It was before.
Yeah.
Where should we go from here? Should we talk about the other characters of Portal 2 or get into the story? Because we haven't even touched on the story just yet.
I want to neither. One of my favorite things about Portal 2, I guess this is story, is how there's so much more that you can discover if you just don't listen to whatever's telling you to do.
Yeah, just hang around.
From the moment that you meet Wheatley, if you don't open the door to let him in, he'll stand there for another couple of minutes and talk to you. And you get a whole bunch of dialogue you would have completely missed. After he breaks down the wall.
And he starts talking in Spanish.
Yeah. All right, and then after he breaks down the wall, which I love, what is it? He says, I'm going to manual override this wall.
I'm going to perform a manual override on this wall. I'm sad that didn't become a meme. But at the same time, I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, but if you don't, once you get out, if you don't immediately start going into the chamber looking for the portal gun, he'll stand there and he'll just talk to you for a while. And then once you get in the chamber, if you walk around the edge instead of going towards the podium where the portal gun's supposed to be, he'll talk to you for a few minutes and encourage you. And what is it? Is it chapter 8? You actually get an achievement if you don't do his first puzzle, if you don't solve it. So I love how that so much of this game revolves around sort of there's extra stuff if you disobey.
Yeah, there's achievements for falling for death traps. There's achievements for not doing what you're supposed to, and also achievements for listening when you really shouldn't.
Yeah, the one where GLaDOS kills you if you follow the path.
Oh, look, it's the deer.
Oh, but yeah, I love that. That's probably my favorite part about Portal 2 is just that all of those little extras and
Well, also the
additional
Easter eggs.
dialogues that are genuinely are generally pretty funny.
Well, let's see. Well, the two big Easter eggs is one. There's the portrait of Carolyn and Cave Johnson,
Yeah.
and also if you're not a fan of the Half-Life series, this probably doesn't mean anything to you, but there's the dry dock of the Borealis in Portal 2, which the Borealis is was an Aperture ship that had a prototype of the portal gun on it, or a portal device that disappeared, dry dock and all, out of Aperture Science, and is supposed to be a big plot point for Half-Life Episode 3 or Half-Life 3 or whatever, and that's what Gordon Freeman and Alex is going after, or at least in theory, maybe someday, I guess. But the fact that they included that in Portal 2 is a nice little touch. Then there's little things like Shell's name is on one of the science projects for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I saw the paintings. Or the painting.
Yeah. It's just all the little things, all the little Easter eggs, all the little touches. It makes me sad that Valve doesn't make games anymore.
Yeah, they do. They do a good job of making them.
Or that it at least isn't Dota 2.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to talk about Wheatley, or do you want to...
Well, since we brought up characters, let's talk about the other two major ones, and then we'll get into story.
Okay.
So, since we brought up Wheatley, Wheatley is a personality sphere, which you encountered the idea of the personality spheres in the first game. They're essentially the grapes hanging off of Gladys. And Wheatley is a rather advanced one. They went through and made a lot of changes to the model to make them more expressive. Because in the first game, they were pretty much just a static model with a little bit of animation, but not much. But Wheatley and the other spheres in extension have a lot more range of emotion. Just added plates, the ability to move a lot more, and it adds a lot of character to him.
Yeah.
But Wheatley is a moron.
Yeah.
He's the dumbest moron that the brightest minds of Aperture could put together. And he is a dampening sphere to try to give Gladys a string of bad ideas to slow her down.
Yep.
But you don't find that out right away. But
no.
To be fair, Wheatley does occasionally have a good idea.
Every once in a while, yeah. Like manually overriding that wall. That was a pretty good idea.
Granted, it almost killed us in the process, but details.
Yeah.
Is there anything you really want to mention about Wheatley before we move on, or that we won't mention otherwise?
Probably not. I mean, I love Wheatley. I think he is adorbs and also pretty funny. And the guy who did his voice, I'm looking at here on the wiki, Stephen Merchant, did a good job. I want to find other stuff that he's in now.
The Office?
Well, I'm sure this is going to be blasphemous, but I don't like The Office, so other stuff that he's in and watch it.
I've never really sat down and watched The Office that much.
Yeah, I don't really like it.
But they kind of teased him by... trying to think of who they had originally as the voice actor for the E3 teaser. But they just said, we got some guy from from around the office.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then, of course, Cave Johnson. the CEO of Aperture Science that you never actually meet. Well, to be fair, you never technically meet Carolyn or Gladys either. You just the AI construct.
Right.
But you meet him through other recordings in old Aperture, which we'll get to exactly how you get there eventually. Oh, probably my favorite character out of the bunch. Just so over the top.
Yeah, I really like Cave Johnson. It's pretty close for me between him and Wheatley. I don't know. Wheatley's so adorable. I can't get past that. But Cave Johnson is an interesting fellow.
Well, the thing is that you also don't have a lot of Cave Johnson, so
that's true.
I think he's a character that if you had too much of him, he would definitely wear out as a welcome. But because you don't experience him for too long in the game, he still has that sweet spot. And plus, of course, the big joke of the game, it comes from him, the combustible lemons. That big last rant. But Cave Johnson, it puts the bad in mad science for Aperture. He is absolutely insane. Spends money on literally anything that catches his fancy. He's modeled after Howard Hughes, essentially.
Yeah.
Howard Hughes plus Tony Stark.
Except without all of the good ideas of Tony Stark. Although I guess Tony Stark has some bad ideas too. But, yeah.
Which I realize that, kind of repeating ourselves on that one with Tony Stark. Tony Snark. Well, that's actually not too inaccurate, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Cave Johnson is voiced by J.K. Simmons, who also did J. Jameson in the older Spider-Man trilogy now. Oh, how many reboots are we going to get on Spider-Man?
Probably a lot more. But J.K. Simmons has been in a lot of good stuff beyond just the older Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's just that's the first time that I really paid attention to him. By far not his first role, but it's the one that is most memorable to me, I guess I should say. And he always plays these big, bombastic, over-the-top characters and does it so well in this.
He does. He really does.
And also, for the fact that you only encounter Cave Johnson for, about an hour and a half-ish, depending on your speed of going through the game.
Yeah.
He has a very devastating character arc.
He does. It's really sad too.
Should we save that for the story? Yeah, I think we should probably.
I mean, we've been pretty out of order with things.
Yeah.
While we're talking about him, we might as well just tell his story arc.
Yeah, he founded Aperture Science, and there's a series of 3 eras that you encounter him in the 50s, the 70s, and the 80s. And each one is sort of themed, where the 50s is very Walt Disney. That's what the inspiration for his portrait is. All the ruins are ruins from a very opulent office, a lot of marble, a lot of very high class, high-priced stuff around. And he's talking to astronauts, war heroes, Olympians for test subjects. Then you go through and you get to the 70s, and everything looks a lot cheaper. And he's talking to hobos. And it's very clear that things haven't gone well for Aperture Science. But he's not willing to get off track. He still wants to do things his way, and damn the consequences. Well, turns out those damn consequences, because then you get to the 80s, and he's poisoned himself by grinding moon rocks. Which I realize is just absurd, but it's also a hint for later in the game to be a portal surface. And he's trying to get his employees to test ways to leach the poison out of his system so he doesn't die. And this is also the genesis of GLaDOS, because he talks about building an AI and transferring a person's mind into a computer. And also putting his secretary in, or his assistant, I guess I should say, if it's not ready in time.
Yeah.
And
so,
as you go through these eras, the portraits change from this hopeful Walt Disney-esque character to this. Oh, well, you can't really say old because he's not that old, but a lot older, a lot more run down, a lot aged, decrepit man that just had his dreams shattered.
Yeah, and he ages very rapidly as well. Like, I mean, it's from the 50s to the 80s, 30 years, but he looks like...
He looks like he had 70.
Yeah. I love that they did their homework, though. Silicosis is probably what he had or suffered from, which is a real disease that people get from breathing in ground up silica dust, which is present in pretty highly present in the rocks that have been brought back from the moon. There's other ways you can get it as well, but samples that have brought back, they're high in silica. So that's pretty neat. Like, that lines up with a real world thing.
Yeah, and his voiceovers for the 80s section, which is actually very short, has a persistent cough in it. And you can hear his voice run down. He's straining to talk, and he's talking about painkillers. And combustible lemons.
Yeah.
Such a powerful arc for a character that you never have direct interaction with.
Yeah.
And something I really didn't expect when I was going into Portal 2 for the first time.
Yeah, I had kind of gotten a couple of hints about Cave Johnson, because there's a couple of audio logs that are in the multiplayer version that I had heard before. So, or heard when we played.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised when I saw or when I heard from him. Like, I knew he existed, but I was really impressed with both the detail and just the weight of that character.
Okay, and that's really the three major characters. There's not a lot of characters in this game, so
yeah. I mean, GLaDOS, but we talked about her. Yeah, we've hit several of the high points of the story, I think.
Yeah,
the remainder, we can go through that. Excuse me. So
yeah, the big thing is that they never really say just how much time has passed between Portal 1 and Portal 2.
Yeah, it's at least long enough that the science facility can get run down and have grass and trees growing inside of it, which would be a while, but we don't know exactly how long, unless it's revealed, like, if you can discover that information.
There's a lot of debate on that.
Okay.
And the thing is also the amount of time. Well, we know at least 30 days because, you have that one moment where you're woken up and, to show you the relaxation hotel room vault. Yeah. But then you start, getting hints that, how long it's been. Well, first of all, the voiceover airs out and just spits out nines. Your mattress has a significant indent of your body. But granted, that may just because you're fat. But yeah, there's a lot of just details that you have to try to figure out on your own. And that's kind of a callback of the story that's just told through piecing things together in Portal 1. But anyway, Wheatley breaks you out and performs a manual override on this wall.
Yeah. Best part of the whole story.
I'm glad you loved that.
I love that so much. I actually watched a YouTube video of the beginning of that mission just over and over again for a little bit. Like, yeah, you manually override that wall is great.
Such a great line.
There's a couple other moments in the game that I really like. Yeah, that was awesome. But
well, I do have to ask. Opening to chapter 9.
Uh-huh.
My favorite fourth wall break in a game.
Why?
Okay. Well, first of all, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but you have the death trap that you trigger, completely by surprise if you don't know it, because they set that up so well. You know? But the whole, well, I guess this is the part where he kills you. Hello, this is the part where I kill you. Chapter 9, the part where he kills you. Achievement pops up. This is the part where he kills you. This is that part.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was hilarious.
Is that why you like it so much?
Yeah, just that one little bit. Yes, it's silly, but it's also not one of those things where it's, haha, you're in a video game and we're going to reference that. Outside the chapter title, of course, but it's also one of those things where you could only experience it once.
Right. Yeah. I really liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as you did. Personally, I like the bit after where if you hang around, I like the bit after a little better. If you hang around,
there's a boy bed down there.
Yeah. And then you can jump down and get the pit boss achievement.
In years.
Yeah, that was one of my other moments. Just hanging around, listening to him try and convince you to jump down, and then GLaDOS is like, basically, don't be a moron. Don't listen to him. What are you doing?
You really are brain damaged.
No. But yeah, no, I could see why you would really like that a lot. That makes perfect sense why you like that sort of fourth wall break, and how sort of on the nose / subversive it is. Like, that's good. That's good. But yeah, it didn't quite have the same impact on me as it did you.
Or maybe it's just, I played this on release day, so, a lot of the things were not spoiled for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're way off track as per usual.
Indeed.
We eventually go through, get a portal gun, or get the first portal gun. Then accidentally wake GLaDOS. And probably Wheatley's probably the world's worst or best hacker, and I can't decide which.
Yes.
A. A. C. Wait a minute, did I do B? Are you writing this down? Oh. But yeah, the GLaDOS wake up scene was done really well as well. Just it shows the power of GLaDOS, just how large that frame is.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those scenes that was played over and over and over in E3 trailers. And maybe that's something that we should have a general discussion for sometime. It's not as big for gaming, granted, is there. It's just how much trailers can spoil key moments or powerful moments in a game.
Yeah.
Because
we should have that conversation at some point.
Because I'm remembering from the reveal trailer that it showed GLaDOS's waking animation. And that was one of the big things revealed in it. It spoiled the fact that GLaDOS does wake up.
Yeah.
Because it would have. Do you think it would have been as a powerful game if they didn't have GLaDOS wake up? If you just go past her body and that's the only real reference to her, and you're trying to escape the ruins of Aperture.
Um,
with your idiot ball?
I think it would have been. I think it still would have been a very powerful game,
It would have been a very different game.
but it would have been a very different game.
Or
Yeah.
if they did have Gladys, she wasn't the omnipotent god of Aperture, well, at least the section that she was. And it was just like her and a personality core. Well, in the dev commentary, they did talk about for a while of having a bunch of different personality cores that you encountered on your adventures through Aperture, which makes me wonder if they really did at one point not have Gladys as a bigger player.
Yeah, that would have. I think. Well, I don't know.
Gladys is too big a character to leave out, though, I think.
She is, but at the same time, I think it would have still been an interesting, powerful game if you dealt with a bunch of the different personalities, as opposed to just getting GLaDOS again. I mean, she's definitely a huge, larger-than-life character that makes a big impact, and like you said, very powerful, but I don't know. I think the game could have been at least as good, done properly, and I think I have confidence in them to have been able to have done it properly.
Yeah, one that they talked about was a personality sphere that was highly paranoid, and you had to basically break through all its barricades that it's built up over the years.
That would have been interesting, I think.
But let's see. Well, you wake up Gladys. She forces you to start testing in again, and in the process appears to kill Wheatley. They never really explain what happened to Wheatley, but that's kind of the funny part of it, is that he just shows back up, and he's and while you're bouncing on this pad that can't quite handle your generousness. You hear little segments of the story.
Yeah.
What do you think of just how angry Gladys was? I can understand why she was pissed.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense that she's pissed at you. I'm like, okay, GLaDOS is pretty crazy most of the time, but this makes total sense. I would be mad at someone, very mad at someone, if they had done this to
Especially
me.
with what she said before that.
Yeah.
That she had a black box feature and she was reliving you killing her over and over and over.
Yeah, and depending on how long, it is between Portal 1 and 2, that could have been potentially decades, maybe more, given the amount of growth and stuff that's in the facility. So that would be horribly traumatic.
Yeah, and if you did that to someone, they may dedicate their pure existence to making your life miserable. Just the way she delivers lines, particularly in Portal 2, where she's a lot smoother and less robotic because she doesn't have all the cores on her anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was a brilliant move that they removed those so that she's a lot more, well, for lack of a better term, organic in her delivery. It gave her more room to work with for her voice.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, I kind of like Robot GLaDOS, though. Or Robotic Tinny GLaDOS.
It really depends on, the line, I think. Because some lines definitely work better with the more tinny, monotone GLaDOS. But, yeah, for Portal 2, that wouldn't have worked for the long term, I don't think.
Yeah.
And plus, you already set the precedent of, she has this lot smoother, more almost seductive tone to her once, she lost that morality core. But anyway, then, after escaping with Wheatley again, there's two escape sequences in this, and then this sequence is kind of sort of behind the scenes at the start. You see a lot of the facility, actually.
Yeah, you get dropped into the bowels of it and go for a good little jaunt through it, and it's huge. I mean, it doesn't specifically, or does it specifically tell you how far you've gone down?
Didn't they say miles at one point?
They do say miles, but I don't think they say exactly how many miles.
Let's go with at least more than one.
Yeah. I mean, but even if it's only 2 miles underground, that's a fucking long way down. How far can you go down before you hit the core of the Earth?
Oh no, let's ask the Russians. No, I'm not joking on that. The Russians actually hold the record for the deepest hole dug. And you know why they did it? Just to see what would happen.
Well, alrighty then. The core of the Earth is... Wait.
Yeah, well, the problem is once you get down a little ways, everything starts to get a little viscous.
Yeah, the core of the Earth is 2,635 miles. Wait, what?
Well, I think you're looking for the crust because, once you get through and get into the mantle, things are a little bit too liquid to hold a test chamber.
Yeah, that's true. How thick is the Earth's crust? The average crust thickness is 50 kilometers, but depending on whether you're on an ocean or a mountaintop, it can take as many as 80 kilometers down to get through. How thick is the Earth's crust in Michigan?
I was just send Kyle over to check it out. Hey, Kyle, we got some ruins for you to check out. Pack a lunch.
There might be a way to find out with some more Google Foo applied, but I don't want to spend too much time looking for it.
Yeah, but let's see. Well, eventually the big twist for Portal 2 comes up after you remove a glass's ability to make turrets and disable the neurotoxin generator. Because why would you hook a neurotoxin generator up to an AI?
For science.
Remember, in case of implosion, look directly at the implosion. And no, that is a sign at the neurotoxin generator. Anyway, the big twist for Portal 2 is that GLaDOS is not the major bad guy. You put Wheatley in charge, and then you find out that was a bad idea.
Yeah. Now, this probably would have been a little bit more shocking if you were playing it completely fresh, since, I have, even though I hadn't played it, I have heard many things about Portal 2 over the last 5-6 years. When did it come out? 2011? 2010?
Ish. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so over the last 6-ish years, I kind of knew that Wheatley wound up being the bad guy. So that was spoiled for me. But, I mean, you said you played it when it released, so was that a big surprise to you?
This was the one thing that it wasn't spoiled outright, but it was hinted at strongly by a friend that was being kind of a dick.
Okay.
So I was expecting that they said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what you think about the big twist."
Oh, I hate when people do that. That's worse than
don't tell
just
me there's a fucking
spoiling
twist.
It. Yeah.
So I was expecting, okay, there's an escape elevator. I'm putting Wheatley in charge. Fuck. But yeah, I think I would have really enjoyed that if I didn't know that there was a twist coming and expected something to happen. I mean, I understand them being excited. They were probably about 2 hours ahead of me on the game, so and I got rather pissed with them on saying that there was a twist, and they didn't say anything until I was done with the game afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate when people are like, so, can't wait till you see the twist. And it's like, oh, great. Now I'm going to spend the entire movie going, is that the twist? Is that the twist? Is that the twist? It's the same thing with games. But, anyways, carry on.
But Wheatley gets called a moron and punches you into the bowels of Aperture. And this is where you beat Cave Johnson in recordings. going through 3 different eras of old Aperture signs, and having the new gameplay mechanic of Portal 2, the gels, which we never really talked about. Nebular Drop, the student game that spawned Portal. Have you ever played it?
No, I've never played it.
I've only played it a little bit, enough to be able to really get a feel for it. And it is obviously a student game, so it's more of a proof of concept than anything else. But I also played, to conclusion, the student game that the gels that came from. Tag the Power of Paint, which is, I wouldn't say verbatim because there is a lot of changes to the gel system for Portal 2. But you have 3 different gels. You have one that is just a white gel that makes a surface that couldn't be made put a portal onto. Portable, which you encounter last. You get a bouncy gel, which is blue that you hit it and you bounce up, and it's essentially a trampoline. Mm-hmm. And then you have one that makes you run fast. That's orange. And a combination of these and the portals unlocks a lot of possibilities for this game. I mean, you saw a lot more of it in the multiplayer, and kind of confused you at first, huh?
Yeah, it did. I was like, what are these shells and where have they come from? And you're like, well, that's just part of the game. You'll get to it in single player. But there's also the white gel. The
conversion gel. That's what I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, anytime that I encounter the white gel, I spend at least a couple of minutes just painting the entire rim.
Yeah. Portals everywhere.
Whitewash the puzzle.
Is that racist?
Whitewash?
Yeah. Is that racist? You're whitewashing it?
I don't think so, but it's hard to tell in this political climate, so just go yes and.
Yes, and.
Just going to have to wait to see if the president says it, then it's racist.
Definitely.
Anyway, on your way back up, you reconnect all the old pipes to bring the gel up into the new aperture. And you encounter, while in the bowels of aperture, you also encounter what's left of Gladys. And Wheatley thought it would be a great idea to put her in a potato battery, which I have to admit is funny.
Yeah.
And she becomes kind of your buddy cop throughout the rest of the game. And it's one of those things that it's really ingenious that the way that they got it where the excuse that she can't help you with the portals, or with the, not the portals, but the puzzles. Because the first time you encounter Wheatley, you discover that if he tries to help you, it's rather unpleasant.
Yeah.
No, all we had to do was put a portal over there. No, you had to press the button. Ah! But throughout this, you also encounter the recordings, and Gladys starts to have kind of flashbacks to her previous life. Hearing her old recordings. Because we never really mentioned that Cave Johnson had his assistant in some of his recordings as well. And she starts repeating the lines. It's really sad. The last kind of... Everyone's hung up on that lemon rant. But playing through it again, I paid a lot more attention to Gladys. Her saying goodbye. It's just such a touching moment that I think a lot of people kind of gloss over because they're too busy laughing at the lemons.
Yeah. Again, it's a very sad character arc and story that's a lot deeper, I think, than most people are going to catch on to.
It's kind of weird to say this, but Portal 2 is one of those games that I think you need to replay, because once you get past the laughter, you start to pay a lot more attention to some of the subtext that you may have missed otherwise.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back and play it again.
Yeah, I think this is my third or fourth time through the single player Portal 2.
I'll probably play it one more time without commentary, take it a little bit more slowly, and then play it a final time with commentary.
But once you get back up into the modern, sarcasm quotes, aperture, with Wheatley in charge, you discover what he's been doing. Those poor frickin' turrets.
Yeah.
I have to admit that they're kind of adorable. In a kind of a freakish way. Just the way that they move. The frickin' turrets are essentially the bastard child of a aperture turret and a weighted cube. And they move around like hermit crabs. With two heads, of course, because, Wheatley.
Yeah. And
they're actually smarter than Wheatley. They get fried with the paradox, which in old Aperture, they have a poster saying, in case of a rogue AI, just scream at one of these paradoxes. And Wheatley just says, true. And meanwhile, every Franken turret in the room fries. But you're trapped in Wheatley's tests, which at the beginning are kind of simple.
Yeah, Wheatley's not the best.
Not the greatest level designer, is he?
No, definitely not.
Well, and you also start to get a hint of possibly why GLaDOS was so intent on testing, is that the primary frame that GLaDOS was part of, that is the central core of Aperture Science, is hardwired to force an AI to want to test. It gives a orgasmic response. I mean, some of those lines from Wheatley, wow, huh?
Yeah.
Especially the first few, when he gets that first hit.
Yeah, the first one's always the strongest. I didn't really consider addiction as part of my diagnosis because, oh god, there's so much shit going on. But that could be a part of it.
I mean, she claims that she has the willpower to push through it, but that sounds almost like she's trying to justify it, huh? Or trying to say, well, it's not a problem for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wheatley, the hits start to wear off rather quickly, and he decides, these two little robots that we found in the back, they'll be able to test for me, so we don't need you anymore. And then you get to the part where he tries to kill you. And Wheatley is always overly complex with his death traps.
Yeah, but that makes him so much fun, though.
What? Holmes and Moriarty. Aristotle and Mashy Spiky Blade. I love the writing in Portal. Maybe that's why I didn't like Quantum Conundrum nearly as much, is that the writing is nowhere near as strong. Well, that and the gameplay isn't either. No, right. There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But you escape again and eventually make your way to the main chassis again and initiate another core transfer to put GLaDOS back in charge of the facility before the place goes boom. And what do you think of the solution for the final boss encounter?
What do you mean? Where you put the personality cores back on?
Well, essentially a reverse of the first Portal boss fight, and then that final shot.
Yeah, I really liked it. There's sort of like a poetic justice to it, or an ironic justice to it. Like, this is how I destroyed GLaDOS, and this is how I will recreate her. And then the final shot, you're talking about the moon?
The moon shot, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I have to say.
Yeah, did you know about that going in?
I did.
Oh.
But I had never actually seen it. Like, I knew it was a thing, and I even saw the uh, what's that show called on YouTube, which is not helpful. There's like a million of them. Because Science did an episode on this where they talked about what would happen if the portal gun or the portal to the moon had just stayed open. How long would it take for the Earth's atmosphere to vent? So that was interesting. It was something like 3 million years for all of the atmosphere to vent out of that tiny little portal. I mean, it would kill humanity in a couple of thousand if they didn't plug up the hole. But
I'll just throw Wheatley in.
well, Wheatley goes through the portal, so he's a little bit small. But yeah, I loved that.
And just that slow down effect, and that's actually something that they talked about in the dev commentary, is that they needed a way to convey that you did the right thing, but still have the realistic delay, because it's about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Delay from Earth to the moon, and they didn't want to have it instantaneous because that didn't feel right. They wanted that proper delay. So that slow motion and sound effect. And then the Team Rocket blasting off again. Ding.
Ding. Yeah.
Such an amazing sequence. And of course, all the spheres coming in, and all of them have a lot of more lines than you probably even hear in the game, unless you just rush to the sphere and then sit there till you explode.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I guess they probably do, because they're chattering pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. I love Rick the Adventure Sphere, the second one that you get. How over the top he is. It kind of reminds me almost of Cave Johnson, only less so. But the factoid sphere is also pretty funny. The first person to drink milk from a cow was very, very thirsty. 1 in 4 people will be kidnapped by the Dutch. And just all of the wall things. I'm kind of tempted to go get a list of those, because it's just comedy gold. But it does show that Wheatley isn't quite as big a moron as Baby Gladys was giving him credit for, because he tried his best to defeat you.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went back and watched the tape and learned from that. There's just no way that he could have counted on the gel. Because that was the big thing, was that the conversion gel made what otherwise would have been his death trap of a layer portable to throw bombs back at him.
Yeah.
And also he booby-trapped the stalemate button.
Yeah, that was a smart thing too. Like, I mean, he's pretty dumb, but he does occasionally get things right.
Yeah, earlier in the game, to put Wheatley in charge, it detected Gladys was a corrupt core, which it makes you wonder just how corrupt she was, or from the frame. And the sequence is to go in and hit a button. Well, they subvert that in the main boss fight because they booby-trapped it.
Yeah. Which you still have to go in there to hit the button. But
yeah.
It explodes.
Yeah, matter of fact, that's right before the very end. You have one last click, and that's it.
Yep. Then you watch the ending cutscene of getting sucked out into space. GLaDOS pulls you back in. She talks to you for a minute. And then sends you on your merry way.
And then,
basically, she's like...
Then another Jonathan Colton song.
Yeah. Which I like enter the elevator and all the turrets are pointing at you, and then you get a serenade.
Yeah, the science opera.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have actually 3 ending songs in Portal 2. You have the science opera. You have Want You Gone, the single player end song, or credit song. And then you have Robots for the Win, the multiplayer's end credit song. So you have quite a bit of kind of reward music as well.
Yeah.
Oh, anything to really talk about here?
I don't think so. I mean, you covered it all pretty well. I just mostly let you tell the story. Having played it a couple of times and listened to the dev commentary, I know you do a better job than me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything major that I'm missing. Okay, here's one thing. This is something that they mentioned in the dev commentary. I want to see if you caught it. When they were originally building Portal 2, they were using portals in the world geometry to essentially just fast fabricate the levels together before putting them all together in their final form. There's one section of the game, or one place in the game, that is an impossible space that is bigger on the inside than in the out, a TARDIS level. Did you notice it, or where it was?
No, on both counts.
Okay, well, the spot is the crap turret ambush from Wheatley. When you go into the room, it's bigger.
Huh. Interesting.
It's just something that was left over.
Okay. I was going to say, is there any significance to it, or was it just something that...
It was just a leftover. Purely. It was just something that I thought was kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah.
And also just the way that they were thinking with portals.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if you could use portals in some way to do that. I don't know.
What, just fast fabricate the levels?
Yeah, just fast fabricate a bunch of stuff. I do like that you see the king turret actually in the song.
The Animal King.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing is that there's a lot of humor that you could easily miss. Not just the extra audio bits, but just the videos as well in the first, third of a game.
Yeah.
Where, in case of the Animal King takeover, and it's just this giant turret, and then later on at the Serenade, you have the giant Animal King in the background.
Yeah, there's tons of little extra humor thrown in everywhere. Well, maybe not everywhere, but in lots of places. So they're just great at getting in little details in there, which, they had in Portal 1. I think there were less in Portal 1, but
far
they were
less.
there.
But then again, it was also a lot smaller of a game.
Yeah, so that's the Portal 2 single player. The co-op multiplayer...
Yeah, which, does the co-op make a lot more sense now?
It does. Although the co-op is pretty standalone. I mean, there wasn't too much I felt like that I was missing out, having now played the single player. The Cave Johnson, when he shows up, makes more sense. The bird was cute, a cute callback to the single player, because the bird there's a bird that comes and takes Potato Gladys and flies away to eat her.
Yeah, in the single player, and it kind of instills a fear of birds and Gladys.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say kinda, it does.
It does. So that was pretty funny. That made that make more sense. And I got a little extra chuckle out of that, the ending of the Portal 2 co-op. But
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was about to just delve into Portal 2 co-op with a couple of generalities. I mean, so if you have something else to say.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say about the co-op. It's probably going to be similar to what we talked about lengthwise of Portal 1, is that it's basically more of the puzzle elements, but the big change is, of course, that you have 4 portals now. Because each character has their own portals, and you're introduced to them. Well, first of all, Wheatley finds them, but in the ending cutscene of Portal single player.
Yeah, they're there when Shell wakes up. But yeah, so the multiplayer, the general sort of story for it is that you're going around reactivating and some stuff in the facility so that you can ultimately get to that control center where the bird is and shoo it away.
You're in the DLC.
Yeah.
You're skipping ahead.
Oh, that's the DLC? See, I didn't know that there was a difference.
Yeah, that's the art appreciation that was set later. The original ending for the multiplayer is the giant door that you open up and into the chamber of humans.
Okay.
Essentially, the story of Portal 2's multiplayer is that you're reconnecting GLaDOS to parts of the facility that they disconnected her from. And in it is she eventually discovers a huge chamber of humans that's been frozen. And she's thawing them out to have more human testing. Because it turns out, Chell is a little dangerous to keep around.
Yeah.
The lunatic.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'd forgotten about that bit. Because, I didn't have to, get the DLC or anything.
Yeah, it's a free DLC.
Yeah, so I just already had it, and we just went on and played it. But the puzzles, again, simple but elegant puzzles involving now 4 portals. You have to work together as a team to solve the puzzles. And
they did a really good job with the extra tool, the pointer tool. To be able to say, no, put it there, because that's probably would have been the worst part of multiplayer if they didn't have a way to point.
Yeah. It's a very different experience too. Like I mentioned last week, just very briefly, I was playing Portal 2 with one of my kids, and we were working on some stuff. But when you and I played it, we had to, even though we could talk to each other, we still had to use the pointer tool and things. But sitting in the same room, I could just be like, look at my screen, here's what I'm trying to explain to you. So it's a very different experience, even doing it a split screen versus online, which is interesting. Plus, this time, he's the Wheatley instead of me.
And also the fact that, granted, you don't have to use a local multiplayer, but the fact that you're able to look through the other person's eye as well.
Yeah.
And some of the puzzles actually require that.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet, though. We're in the 3rd test chamber.
Oh, fun.
So.
But anyway, once you thaw out all the humans, she decides, human testing is probably for the best, and disassembles the co-op robots. Well, you wake up far into the future, and GLaDOS has become an art director, whose art looks kind of like test chambers. Well, as you progress through them, you start to get a sense that she's kind of preparing you for something. And eventually she drops out pretext and says that, I kind of killed all the humans trying to turn them into a killing machine. Turns out that, psychotic humans, a lot more rare than you would expect based on our previous sample size. So she has to use the co-op robots and to turn them from marshmallows into killers for the final confrontation with the bird, who's built a nest on one of the prototype GLaDOS mainframes, and is accidentally hitting a key. And that's the big reveal. Is that every so often it's hitting a key that's disabling something for a short time. And you shoo away the bird, but discover that it's spawned. You remember this cutscene now, right?
Yeah, I actually am pulling it up on YouTube just to watch it silently. I love how, too, that they shoot the portal gun at it. What is that supposed to do?
Well, it's its only weapon. When your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right?
Yeah.
And eventually, I think it's Peabody comes up. It looks like he's going to shoot the bird and just shoots it. Oh, such great silent acting.
Yeah.
I was watching a video earlier today about Charlie Chaplin's how he handled comedy. This sounds like a non sequitur, but it's the same basic idea of being able to convey a story and convey just pure comedy without a word, all through action. And that's where the cutscenes in Portal really pay off. It's just that understanding that actions are sometimes a lot louder than words, especially in comedy.
Yeah.
And, well, that's really the end of Portal 2, is that she has the, what was the Avery incubation chamber?
Yeah. And isn't she like sitting in there talking to the birds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not
baby
marshmallows. Birds. You're killers. It makes me wonder if they ever revisit Portal, which would be a damn shame if they don't. What are they going to do? Because there's a lot of directions that they could go with Portal 3.
Yeah.
Including existence.
Yeah. I mean, they'll never make it because Valve is mortally afraid of the number 3. But
plus, they're making way too much money off of CSGO keys and skins out of Dota 2.
Yeah. I honestly don't know if I'd want a Portal 3 or not. I mean, I have enjoyed both games, but I don't know what they could do or where they would go, and I just don't know if they could make it good.
I would like to see, granted, it'd be very difficult to do, a merger of Half-Life and Portal. I mean, they are in the same universe. In Old Aperture, you see a display case full of trophies. Number 2 signs. And Cave Johnson is not bitter at all about Black Mesa.
Yeah. Be nice to see Gordon Freeman and Shell get together. They would be like the ultimate mute action duo.
Well, there is the fan theory that Gordon Freeman isn't a mute. He's just, you don't hear him. Have you ever heard that one?
No. Why wouldn't you hear him?
It's just the player doesn't hear what Gordon Freeman says. But he talks to the characters. Or is a man of few words, but does say something. It's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if I buy into it.
I'd have to go look that up later, because there's some pretty interesting theories about Portal and Half-Life, so... Because I did browse the Portal wiki a little bit to help fill in some gaps and make sure I had a few things, just because I knew that, you had played it more than me, so you might have caught on to some things on your second or third playthroughs. And yeah, I just found a few things. So
yeah, and that's really the strength of Valve, is that their world building is just amazing.
Yeah.
And granted, sometimes it does require you to fill in probably a little bit more gaps than you really should. But the fact that everything is still there behind the scenes is really quite nice. Sort of like how the G-Man keeps showing up during your adventures in Half-Life 2. In ways that you wouldn't see him normally if you're just playing the game normally.
Yeah, you have to look for him, but he's there.
Okay, before we really get into the analysis of GLaDOS, game mechanic changes. What do you think of how they changed the mechanics from Portal to Portal 2?
I like the addition of the gels. Those really, I think, flesh out the actual Portal gun. Because before, your mechanics were, you could use the portal to move yourself. Move yourself or another object, somewhere. You could use them to build up momentum if you needed to, cross a large expanse or something like that. And there were a few other little things here or there, but for the most part, that was it. But in Portal 2, adding the gels really expanded the amount of movement that you could do, the range that you could use the portals, and then the same for the little light platforms.
Yeah, well, there's not just that. There's also the kicker plates, the aerial faith plates,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
and the
right.
tractor beams.
Yep, forgot about those for a second too.
Well, to be
Um,
fair, the faith plates are introduced late, and so are the tractor beams.
yeah, but still, just they did a lot of good to improve the
The
range,
toolkit.
the toolkit, and your mobility. It felt a lot more active. I mean, I know that this isn't true, but a lot of Portal One feels very static. Like I'm standing here, shoot a portal, get the momentum, jump the thing, whatever, you know.
Well,
Whereas
to give
Portal
you an
2 felt a
idea,
lot more active.
well, to tell you just how static Portal 1 is, there was a video that's floating around today. Talk about perfect timing of someone beating Portal 1 without moving their mouse.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. It's on Reddit right now. It's just, I was watching a little bit of it earlier, and some of it's a little, I don't want to call it cheaty, but it definitely uses some creative use of portals. They were thinking with portals, where in order to change their perspective, instead of moving the mouse, they would go through a series of portals to change how they're looking.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
For me, I really love that they expanded the toolkit. Some of the connecting sequences between test sequences, for lack of a better term, felt like a lot of it was, okay, find the light source. Because what Valve usually does is they use light as an indicator of where to go. And there was a couple of times where it's, okay, here's this huge expansive environment. Let me find the one spot that I can put a portal on. And that felt like a little bit of a detriment to what could have been a more fluid sequence. Especially since this particular was bad in old Aperture. This was before the portal gun was invented. Granted, there is a poster of a primitive portal gun, but they talked about later finding a great portal conductor. So there's a little bit of iffiness on the time frames. I would have loved to have seen some of the old chambers, since you have the portal gun, just be able to completely cheat.
Yeah, that would have been nice, actually.
Yeah, in the breakout sequence in Portal 1, you go through one of the old chambers with the fully powerful portal gun, and you're able to just break the rules and go right through it, without completing the puzzle. I'd have loved to seen at least one chamber like that, where they didn't design this for the portal gun because the portal gun was in existence yet. So, I'm able to skip this entire very convoluted sequence by just portal there, but still have it where, okay, if I wanted to do the puzzle, it's still a working puzzle. It would have been a nice little Easter egg,
Yeah.
But that's a very minor nitpick. It's just some of the sequences felt like they were just find a hidden object, only found the white panel somewhere, and that's and kind of carries over to the test chambers themselves, because in Portal 1 you would have half the test chamber or more with portable surfaces, but in Portal 2 they really streamlined things. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Granted, they probably had to with the improved tool set. You know what I'm talking about? Where in Portal 2, you'll have a small section of places where you can put portals instead of half the chamber.
Yeah.
But that's probably a casualty of just the improved tool sets.
Yeah, because you couldn't give too much freedom, otherwise people would never figure it out.
Or just completely break things.
Yeah.
Which, that's something that they talked about in the dev commentary of the first game, was there were several times that they would break a solution that was kind of cheaty, but there was also a couple of solutions that they left in that were cheaty because they required more skill than the actual puzzle, which was funny.
Yeah. Would be interesting. Really gotta listen to that dev commentary at some point. Do you have any... I assume that both of us recommend this game, or these games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough not to.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts? Any last anything before we move on to the GLaDOS's Psych Eval?
Definitely go check out the workshop content.
Okay.
Because there is just an amazing amount of very talented map creators that's made some absurdly tough, some absurdly easy. And that's probably going to be the toughest thing about it, is just figuring out where your difficulty curve is. But there's... I'm trying to remember the name of it, and now I'm just going to go look it up. There is the 12 Angry Test that was, if I recall correctly, was a very good sequence of test chambers that you definitely should check out at some point. But then there's just, little one-off puzzles. There's just racetracks that, are meant to be played in multiplayer to race against one another. But there's a lot of stuff on the Steam Workshop. There are, I have it up here right now. Overall, there's 591,071 entries on the workshop, with 497,000 of them being single player.
Yep, that's definitely, there's a few there.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't run out of content too fast, though. I mean, whew.
Well, to be fair, some of them do look like they were designed by Wheatley. And it was funny that Wheatley put the word test on the side of his chamber. Oh, I do like Wheatley.
Me too.
And we never really said what happened to him. We said that he got stuck out into space, but he's not alone. He has his friend, the Space Sphere.
Yeah. Floating past him.
No. Wheatley's so dense that the Space Sphere is in orbit of him. Or did you not catch that pun?
No, I didn't catch that pun.
The Space Sphere is in orbit of Wheatley.
Nice.
And he is so dense that he is able to give us a stable orbit. Oh, I love the puns.
Me too. Alrighty. Well, let's move on to the thing that everybody's been waiting for. GLaDOS's Psych Eval.
Just how crazy is this bitch?
Okay, so I did this just like I would do an evaluation for any other client that I see at work whenever they come in for their intake session. So I'm just going to read through it. I tried to simplify as much as possible so that there's not as much sort of jargon in it. But
so is this going to be like Looney Tunes where you just hold up a screwball or a crackpot?
No. All right. Also, I'll give you the link for this so that you can put it in the show notes too. And someone can go read it themselves if they want. GLaDOS is a sentient AI program activated by the Aperture Science Labs. She's employed as the facilities testing director and spends most of her day running tests on her lab rats and assistants. GLaDOS takes great pride and satisfaction in her work, choosing to work tirelessly year-round. At work, GLaDOS does tend to get into altercations with her employees and lists one female in particular as her nemesis, in quotes. GLaDOS first seeks to resolve problems with violence, however, she can be reasoned with if the opposing party has enough leverage against her. GLaDOS tends to fully and completely solve a problem, resorting to extreme measures if necessary, as evidenced by the poison gas and rocket attacks she's carried out against test subjects. GLaDOS often employs acid, spikes, and other extreme testing means as a way to sort out the, quote, best individuals. GLaDOS has been repeatedly shown to have a bias against humans and actively antagonizes any she meets. GLaDOS, however, does not treat other robots or AI much better and is willing to be more open and honest with them in conversation. GLaDOS does not respond well to criticism or alternatives to her plans and goals. GLaDOS actively displays signs and symptoms of an abuser. She berates all of her test subjects and employees, coming up with a variety of insults and slurs to use against them regularly. GLaDOS does display an extremely high level of intelligence and capability. She's able to actively manage and control the entire Aperture Science Labs, a number of robotic and AI constructs, and actively run testing scenarios. She may be capable of even more. She does, however, display high levels of aggression and manipulation, as well as a total lack of emotion. The one time GLaDOS has been observed to show real emotion, so she quickly buries it as deeply as possible. GLaDOS expresses both sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies, making a completely accurate diagnosis difficult. However, based on the present evidence and my professional opinion, GLaDOS is most likely suffering from antisocial personality disorder. And then I've got the DSM codes after that. Antisocial personality disorder is in the sense that she's working against normal social order. For the colloquially understood meaning of antisocial, see social phobia. GLaDOS meets all 7 diagnostic criteria, and these are as follows. Failure to obey laws and norms by engaging in behavior which results in criminal arrest or would warrant criminal arrest. Lying, deception, and manipulation for profit or self-amusement. Impulsive behavior. Irritability and aggression manifested as frequently assaulting others or engaging in fighting. Blatantly disregards safety of self and others. A pattern of irresponsibility and a lack of remorse for her actions. Recommended course of treatment is as follows. Client needs to be submitted to both the criminal justice system and recommended to semi to fully permanent psychiatric care. There are no known effective treatments for antisocial personality disorder that are as strong as this. Most likely heavy medication, and then I put in parentheses, computer virus, will be mandatory for life, barring any criminal sentencing that may result in the euthanization of the client, or euthanization of this client. Federal and state laws must be consulted. It is very likely that the client also suffers from other personality disorders as comorbidity with reactive attachment disorder, Munchausen disease, and schizophrenia are possible. Also, given the severity of the symptoms, it would be irresponsible to rule out other schizotypal disorders as well. Further testing would be required to confirm. And I just realized the irony of further testing. So I'm not done.
Now
yet.
I'm just imagining GLaDOS sitting in a test chamber like, what am I doing here?
I'm almost done, but I'm not done yet. Socio and or psychopathy are both difficult to rule out. Sociopathy operates on a scale, and psychopathy tends to be all or nothing, exemplified by large degrees of recklessness. GLaDOS' high intelligence and ability to manipulate exclude a full psychopathy diagnosis in my professional opinion. While antisocial disorder is considered in some circles to be synonymous with sociopathy, there are some differences. Sociopaths, for example, tend to be much more controlled and manipulative. While risk-taking and lack of self-control may be present, they are much more rare and often present more subtly. As such, it felt appropriate to rule out both diagnoses and opt for a lesser but more middle ground diagnosis of antisocial personality disorder. Regardless of labels, GLaDOS is a dangerous and unpredictable client. The utmost caution should be exercised when interacting with her. Full stop.
So, bitch be crazy.
Yeah, she's crazy. I had a lot of fun aldoing that.
Oh,
but
GLaDOS is a fun character.
Yes, she is.
I was almost tempted to ask you to do Cave Johnson, but he's not enough in the game, I don't think, to really give you enough information.
Yeah, I would have really struggled to do Cave Johnson. I mean, I could have done some generalities for sure, but I got pretty specific with GLaDOS.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there was also the extra lines, but you wouldn't have heard them, and I would have had to link them to you and possibly spoil some things.
Yeah.
Especially since you would, well, it's, the Cave Johnson lines are from different Cave Johnsons in different universes as well, so I'm not sure if they really apply. Like, there's one, well, you remember the Mantis Men?
Yeah.
There's a Mantis Man, Cave Johnson.
Okay.
Who talks about fighting an army of man mantises.
That's great. That's great.
And then there's a Cave Johnson that just meows.
All right. That makes sense.
Meow. Meow, 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 meow.
So yeah, that's Portal and Portal 2.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
Yeah. We're almost done with the podcast too. We were at roughly the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, I'm looking at 254. Well, without a small edit.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do or announce our next game club, and then I think we should wrap it up.
Well, Discovery Queue?
We can, but we're already over going to be over 3 hours.
Oh, but Discovery Queue is so much fun.
All right, we'll run one quick Discovery Queue.
Besides, I'm sure there's still at least 1 or 2 F1 games I need to get.
I'm sure. All right, so the next game club game we are going to do is Transistor.
Yeah, something super giant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
super giant.
Yeah, a little bit more of honey being licked out of our ears, huh?
Yeah.
This is one that I've been meaning to go back and play. I've never beaten this one.
Yeah, I've never played Transistor. I've always wanted to.
This is a very, very different from Bastion.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Supergiant is that they're kind of becoming clay where all their games are unique. Have you seen their new one?
No.
You haven't seen their new game coming out?
I don't think I have. Maybe I have and I just don't realize it.
They're doing a group RPG. Hang on, let me punch it up for you.
Is it Pyre?
Yeah. It looks interesting.
It looks different. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good this is going to be, but it's worth a shot, right?
Yeah, I'd give it a shot. I mean, I don't know. It looks odd. I need to see some stuff about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Didn't it come out today, or I guess yesterday? Release date July 25th, 2017. So it came out.
Okay, well, when I was looking at it, it was still not available. It was showing pre-order. And I didn't pay attention to the release date.
Yeah, so it just came out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this does. I mean, there's some very mixed reviews right now, but then again, it is the early reviews.
Yeah.
But that's not the game we're doing. We're doing Transistor. Lady in red with a giant freaking sword that talks.
Yep, talking sword. Sign me up. So yeah,
well,
we'll be doing that.
I already did.
Yes, you did. But we'll be doing that for the month of August. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, should we discuss on air what we're planning to do for, September to get some submissions because it's something different?
Sure. We can mention that.
Okay, we're wanting to dive into a free-to-play game. And the thing is that the free-to-play market is vast.
Yeah, it's got a lot of turds in it. It's a vast ocean of turds.
So this is your chance to submit, and for Kyle to stuff the ballot box of what do you want us to do for September. Free-to-play game, hopefully something that we haven't played before. So that rules out things like Warframe. We want to focus on the early experience with either an MMO or, a free-to-play game in general. But MMO tends to be the majority of the market these days.
Yeah, some of the MMOs that we have played that we're not considering for this, Star Trek Online, that was the first one that kind of came to mind for me. Yeah. And that's like, well, we've played that one.
Yeah, I've played it extensively. Yeah, I played it pretty extensively as well. Rift, I would be willing to try. It's something I played a fair amount of, but I was rushed through it, so I have no idea what's going on story-wise, and I only know the kind of the base mechanics.
Yeah. WildStar. We both played WildStar a bit.
Yeah, and I have a level 50 character there from their giveaway.
Yeah. I've got 2 characters at level, like in the mid-20s. Because Katie and I play WildStar some. So that one's out. Were there any others?
I guess TF2.
Yeah. Anything we've ever played for Stream Night basically is out. So Warframe, which you said already, War Thunder, the World of games, World of Warships, World of Planes, World of Tanks.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be more mechanically based, so it'll probably be a shorter game club as well.
Yeah.
But this is your chance to influence Game Club once again. and for Kyle to ruin it all. I only pick on Kyle because he's my friend.
Indeed.
Hey, the moment I stop picking on Kyle, then you have to worry.
So yes. So moving on from that, I know that we didn't have any emails or anything for Community Corner. Did we have any tweets, or I think you said that there were no responses to the question of the week?
Yeah, no response to the question of the week, which I'll still say what it is. Maybe somebody will email in. The question of the week was, what is your favorite video game end credit song? And I was asking people to link it so we would have music to listen to, but maybe that was a little much. I think mine may be Bastion. But I have to admit that, and this may be spoilers, RimWorlds is fucking satisfying.
I've never really thought much about end credit songs. I mean, I like the one at the end of Portal and Portal 2. I mean, those are great, but I don't know if I would say that they're my favorites, maybe? I don't know. You know what? I think my favorite end credit song actually is at the end of Mass Effect. And because it's not like as amazing or creative as a lot of others, but the way that it plays into the way that that game ends, and it swells and builds like, here comes something epic. Like they were saying, we're about to send you on an even bigger journey that you just had in Mass Effect 1. I like that.
Here, really. I'm going to link you RimWorlds, since we've heard Bastions. Skip to probably about 10 seconds in, because it has a sound effect at the beginning of it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, 13 seconds.
Nice. That's nice. That makes me feel like sort of Firefly.
Well, that's the feel that they're going for.
Well, then they did it.
And plus, also the
lyrics. There's words.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. That's good.
I have to admit, very satisfying.
Coolio.
You can see why it's kind of gone up there, huh?
Yeah.
Not just the fact that, it took me over 48 hours to get to it. But Bastion's music is just amazing in general. And that's why I'm kind of looking forward to Transistor.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Transistor as well. So, here's to hoping it's a good one, which I think it is based on all the reviews and everything, but never played it before, so.
Well, I've only played a little bit of it. But if you wish to get into the community corner, please. Well, wait. We did have one tweet. I forgot about that. Chemist, I'm offended by your erasure. I'm not important enough to be offended? Well, I don't know. It sounds like he's offended. Mission accomplished.
Woo! That's it, people. Let's pack it up and go home.
Yeah,
we did it.
Bring out the banner. I'm not sure what I'm offending him by. Do you recall this?
I don't remember.
Does this offend him?
Does this offend him?
Yeah, that we don't recall what we're not offending him by. I know, I'm terribly confused now.
Me too.
And now I've gone cross-eyed.
That good, huh? All right.
Yes, so I am still listening to the RimWorld song in the background.
So you want to do a discovery queue instead of just calling it a night, huh?
Yes. I'm making it rough on you.
All right. Let's do it.
Because we need some more music.
And I'll count that as the Q, so...
Q? Uncle Q?
Let's see. First game, no good. Second game. What is this? Space Tyrant.
I got Strike Vector right off the bat. This may be for you. I don't think you have this on your wish list. This is a 3-axis space combat game.
Interesting. Is it arcadey, I assume?
Looks like it. It says fast-paced multiplayer. And it has hardly anybody playing, so... Well, I'll drop it in the show notes anyway, as something a little bit interesting.
Yeah, so here's one that looks neato. Space Tyrant. It looks like some kind of 4X strategy game with a nifty art style and something about some kind of RPG elements with leveling up and things. And it's recommended to me because of all of the many 4X space games I play.
Well, Strike Vector EX was recommended to me because of MechWarrior Online, because that's a space 3D shooter thingy.
Yeah, this looks reminiscent of the older Galactic Civilization games. I mean, not in terms of like art style and stuff, but some of the menus, and it might be like inspired, like the planetary things that you could go down and do. I don't know. I'm gonna put it on my wish list.
Well, I got another one possibly. Apora Beyond the Valley, a first-person atmospheric puzzle game.
Oh, I got this one too.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess you don't need my link then, but it looks very pretty.
It does look pretty.
Not a lot, but a couple people complain that the puzzles are simple. So, that's where that we talked about the balance. You have to have a proper balance between difficulties, and you have to spend time training. Yeah. The hell?
What is this?
Raise the Dead. Sorry. A zombie experimentation game. I'll link it down below. It looks almost like Zombie Slime Rancher. It's not going to be out till late this year or early next year. Herd different zombies and keep them in cells. Synthesize and craft various potions. Use potions to perform experiments on zombies. Interesting. I mean, it screams Slime Rancher to me. Just the art style. Yeah, a very cutesy zombie game. And it just throws up a bunch of... why is this relevant to you? A bunch of tags. So see, Discovery Queue was a good idea.
I haven't gotten very many good things. I'm almost done with mine. I had the one that we shared, and then I had my neat looking one, Space Tyrant. But it looks like I'm getting some more Steam Direct garbage.
I just got Space Tyrant. And I also got Bee. As in just a free-to-play game with a bee flying around. What in the hell is this? Well, what the hell this is going on the Discovery Queue. I had a good queue, it seems.
I did not, but I'm okay with that.
Nepha phase begins. It tells the players what happened before Nepha phase was an orb collector. So it looks like it's a prequel to another game. Very pretty. Or at least it makes good use of God rays. One of the two. It looks interesting enough.
God rays. God rays.
Where's your God ray now? Ray, when somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. And it looks like that is it for me. Yep, that's the Discovery Queue.
Nice. Well, I only got one out of the deal, but you got 4?
Yep.
Yeah.
But then again, I usually have more... I'm a lot tougher critic, but I'm more lenient when I'm saying, that looks interesting.
Yeah. Looks like
not that that's a bad thing. I mean, it makes it so that hopefully share something of somewhat interest. Or just add things to your wish list. One of the two.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I like getting stuff on my wish list.
Oh my.
Well, with that out of the way, then let's get to the portion of the podcast where I go first.
Sprawling!
Yeah, as I smack my mic stand.
Don't worry, I've had a couple of mic hits today. I've turned my head and, just clipped it with my headset. More than once.
So coming up on my channel this week, there will, of course, be the weekly dose of divinity. There will, of course, be the podcast. And I think I'm going to separately record my GLaDOS psych eval and put that up and just see how it does. I suppose I could just pull it from this too, just pull it from my audio track before I combine everything and clean it up a little bit more for that. Cause
in other words, just mute my track.
Yeah, I had a couple of stumbles. I'll edit those out and fix them, but post that on my channel. That should be fun. Let's see how well that does.
And the title, Bitch Be Crazy.
Yeah. But things with work are as crazy as they were last week, but no crazier this week. So I have a handle on that. I'm going to try and get...
Now, quick question. Is crazy in your work good or bad?
Yes.
And?
No.
But?
Maybe.
All right.
Now that that's cleared up. Yeah. I actually discovered some...
You completely off track.
I actually discovered some more hidden backlog in my YouTube channel, so I'm going to be releasing some of those very old videos and just see how well they do. I'm at 102 or 103 subs, so that continues to go up. So yay. Thank you everyone. Once again, I've said that before, but thank you everyone for getting me to the triple digits. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Because I just do this for fun. So it's nice to see that at least some people are having fun with me. And I love having fun with you guys.
You're not expecting to make money off of it because of the apocalypse.
Yeah, no.
Let's just put it this way. I was making a little bit of money. Then apocalypse hit and I went from a squat to half a squat.
Nice. Getting those workouts in with the squats. Nah.
Well, gotta make my ass sexy for you, right?
Wink. You know it. But anyways, so thank you once again, everyone, for supporting me, subbing to me. Feels nice and fancy. And you can find me by searching for Gaming Psychologist on YouTube. Also, if you want to subscribe to me on Twitter, you can do so at JMA4707. I tweet about all kinds of things. Some of them are not even political. If you want to watch me stream games, you can do so over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. There will not be a stream this week due to circumstances. Rage and I are going to have to do some bonus or rescheduled recording of Divinity. And I will...
Mostly trying to avoid another pause in content.
Yeah, I will talk about that at a later date. There were a couple of you out there in the community that by the time this releases... I was going to tell you about it anyways, so you'll know, but I'll talk about it later on a different episode, maybe the next episode. But yeah, so no streams this Friday. And then if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can do so by sending me a friend request. My Steam username is jarthur4707. I accept all friend requests on Steam. So far, all of you have been lovely, lovely people, and I enjoy talking to you whenever you chat me up.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Apple. Simple word, Apple. Come on, Apple.
Apple.
No, what you're doing is jumping. No, Apple.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Well, I wasn't sure if you would catch it, so I had to run the joke into the ground. I had to perform a manual override on this joke.
That's the best.
So my channel. Well, Quantum Conundrum, as you may be, figured out by now, is ending this week, which means I need to quickly scramble and figure out what the hell I'm going to play next. Have a few ideas. I put it out on Twitter, and maybe I should have linked on my account, but people that knew better just started suggesting random games that I don't have. Here's a little surprise. I don't own everything on Steam. Just a good chunk of it. But mostly the crap. Especially with Steam Direct. Ugh. Anyway, I'm going to try to figure that out in the next day or two. Like I said, I have a few good ideas of where I'm going to go with that. RimWorld is starting to wrap up as well. I've been in heavy testing for the next version of it. That's still a couple weeks out, though. Maybe. And, of course, Divinity is hopefully still ongoing. Depends on just how much I can wrangle Jared. Right?
Wrangle me up, baby.
Oh, my. And you can find all of that, including the Sunday Sampler, whenever that behaves. And that's the problem with the Sunday Sampler, is that if I'm recording it on Saturday, it's just way too late for me to be able to do anything proper. And I don't want to just, throw random Let's Play content onto it unless it makes a lot of sense. The only time I've done Let's Play on the Sunday Sampler was an additional level to Meepy's Dreams. That was a series I already did. So maybe if there's a super short game, I'll do another Let's Play on it. But I like doing the random first impressions. Only problem is, like I said, sometimes they fight me. Anyway, if you wish to catch all that, you can find me over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage, where I have that, including this podcast. But if you're on my channel, you're already hearing this podcast, most likely. So, check it out anyway. Or you can just catch me tweeting somewhat randomly over at Gaming with CR. My latest rant was about labels, because my problem with RimWorld getting everything set up, I was running a mod that was calling itself a patch. It wasn't a patch, it was a standalone. So I was running 2 versions of the mod, and they were conflicting. And it was driving me absolutely batshit insane. Because it should have been working. Why is this working? It's not a patch. It says patch. Fuck.
Poor Rich.
You could imagine just how pleased I was to see that.
Very pleased.
Anyway, Gaming of CR for Twitter, and, well, unfortunately, no Twitch. At least yet. I do want to do Twitch eventually. It's just, actually finding the time, really. All the YouTube stuff takes up a lot of time. But speaking of time, it is time to wrap things up. As always, you could contact us once again. VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, and gaming-related topics, or just tweet us, VGL Podcast, on Twitter. If you wish to help to pay for this absolute madness, you find us over at patreon.com/VGL Podcast. And if you're not listening to this through our RSS feed, you can find it over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com, where you can also find the show notes. But the podcast also lives on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and who knows where else that Jared's found this to put this podcast. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com, as well as Doobly Doo, which is our Discovery Q music. What?
Doobly Doo for the Discovery Q.
What, you just now caught that I've been doing that?
Yes. It's at least the first time that I've chuckled at it, so.
Well, just proves that if I say a joke enough, you eventually laugh at it.
Absolutely.
Apple.
Not yet.
Yeah, I'll give it a few more 1,000 times.
Anyways, as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.